Bartley,
Here.
Givner,
Here.
Jourdain,
Here.
Maldonado Velez, McGee,
Here.
McGivern,
Here.
Murphy Rumboletti,
Here.
Coelho, Israel Rivera,
Here.
Jenny Rivera,
Here.
Tallman,
Here.
Bacon.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
The City of Holyoke.
And the City Council.
All right, before we get started, Councilor Bartley, who started a tradition roughly about 6 years ago, Councilor Bartley, and it's just grown, and it's just an outstanding tradition that we now have. I'd like Councilor Bartley to invite in our special guests for tonight.
Hey Scott, there's no sound. I'd like to call up Councilor Bartley and our members from the parade committee to come on up.
Mr. President, Madam Clerk, thank you so much. My job's pretty easy. It's just to give a little bit of thanks and to make an ever so brief introduction. As a way of comment, this is the only parade we had in 2020, the parade that went from the lobby to right here. And it's deja vu, because we've got the same group again, which is really exciting. But my thanks to the parade committee, of course, my friends on the Ancient Hibernians, who I know always help make this a great parade. What can we say about the Holyoke Caledonian Pipe Band? What can we say about them? I just want to say thank you again to the Caledonians. It just really sounds great. Whenever you're here, it fills up the room, and I know so many people watch it on TV. This is what they look forward to. I know they like our speeches, but they really like to hear your music, and so it means a lot. And finally, a thank you to my friends in the City Council.
Jose, how are you? This is Scott from Holyoke.
That's okay, it doesn't matter. I like hearing my voice. And my friends in the city council who allowed this, another one of my nutty dreams to come to reality. So thank you to all the councilors who supported this. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce, once again, the parade president, former Ward 7 city councilor, Mark Joyce.
Thank you, David, and it is once again a pleasure to be here. As he said, deja vu all over again. 2 years ago tonight, we were honored by the City Council for the parade that we just had canceled earlier that day. And that was, I get choked up even thinking about that now, but it's a totally different feeling in the community now. We are hopefully past the pandemic, and the anticipation in Holyoke and in our surrounding communities is really off the charts. I just found out today that the Chamber of Commerce breakfast tomorrow morning, where we're being honored, is oversubscribed. They've got 300 people going up to Wyckoff for that breakfast at 7:30. We had a concert at the Warehouse a week ago last Saturday that were 400 people there. And I think all of you can identify with being cooped up for the past couple of years, and now you can really get out and spread your wings and have a good time. And that's what we're hoping to have, a good, safe time on the weekend, and we hope all of you can come and enjoy it with us, because we're ready to go. We have a couple of award winners with us tonight, a gentleman that you all know, I'm sure, Attorney John J. Driscoll, who is our Grand Marshal. John Beaulieu from Chicopee, he's our winner of the Gallivan Award, which is given annually to a member of our committee who has done great work, and John certainly fits that bill, but great work for the committee for a number of years. John? I'd like to introduce Kathy Delchinos, who is the Colleen mother, we kind of call her, and she organizes the contest and the selection process, and she's just a great gal. And she is really like a mother during these 3 months usually that we have between the contest and the parade. So Kathy, would you come up and introduce your Colleens?
First of all, I'd like to say that our Grand Colleen is unable to be here. She's doing exams, as well as Emily Kuchar. Maura McDermott is the Grand Colleen, and she's at Boston College doing exams right as we speak. And the Colleen Court and Miss Congeniality, Emily Kuchar, is also at Boston College, and she's in the mix of exams too, so she couldn't be here either. But we do have Haley Dussault, and Trish Harridan. And Natalie Mako is working, so she couldn't be here as well. So those were our 5 girls. And very proud of the way they've conducted themselves over the past 3 years. They really had to put up with a lot, and I'm very proud of them. So thank you.
Thank you once again. I have the distinction of being the longest serving parade president in the history of this parade. But I'm not alone, because all the award winners have the distinction of being the longest serving marshals and Gallivan Award winners, so we all just carried it over from 2020, and I'm hoping we're going to have a parade on Sunday and a road race on Saturday. Our weather, I want you all to redouble your efforts at however you want to pray, however you do pray. Please pray for good weather for this weekend. Attorney Driscoll is the Grand Marshal, and he's typically is responsible for the weather. And the last 2 years, on the day where we would have had the parade, were absolutely beautiful days. So he's 2 for 2. But they don't really matter. The one that matters, the weekend that matters is the one coming up. So he's got a lot of pressure on him. If he looks a little stressed, that's because he knows there's pressure on him. And he also has seen the forecast. So let's pray for good weather. Thank you all very, very much.
Up middle.
Motion to adjourn, it's time for a parade.
Second. All right, so I wasn't going to interrupt that music. Go to item, we have several items laid on the table. We're waiting for legal. Is there any certain ones we want to take up at a particular order or go at item 1?
Is item 1 ready? I don't think so, but I didn't see it here this evening, so maybe we go to item 2?
Motion to take up item 2.
Yeah, it's here. Yeah, everything's here.
I didn't see it on our desk. Is there an item 1?
Oh, okay. There's signed by the mayor now.
They didn't send it to me, so I hadn't.
Okay, so item 1, we'll just leave. Item 2, motion is to take up item 2.
Yep.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So this is the command ordinance is referred that the ordinance committee meet with the water department superintendent and commissioners to amend the ordinance such as fishing, dog walking, both increase fines. This was recommended that be adopted. Under discussion, Councilor Vacan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So everyone had the legal language at our last meeting, but it had not been in the signed form. And so everybody's had plenty of time to review it, and it's pretty straightforward. So I'd offer a motion to pass the first reading.
Second.
Councilor Rivera.
Who's voting first?
Sorry, Councilor Maldonado Velez.
Okay.
It was pulled
Thank
first. He'll be voting first. So seeing no one else, but what? He's all right. So with that, motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second
Motion is
reading.
passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the amendment.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Your vote, you approve that one. Item 3.
Motion to take up item 3.
Motion is to take up item 3. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Committee on Ordinance has referred that the DPW Commissioner appear before Ordinance Committee to discuss proposed language changes to 2-201. Recommended that be adopted. Councilor Vacan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So everybody has 2 separate sections before them that were sent out prior to this meeting, and this was put forth to us by the commissioners in an effort to broaden the scope and open up more opportunities for applicants for the superintendent position. renaming it as Director of Public Works. So in the replacement language, there were two sections, qualifications and duties. And I would like to offer an amendment to the legal form that you have before you. If you'll notice on the second page under qualifications 1, it talks about bachelor's degree and 10 years of relevant upper-level administrative experience. And then when it's talking about the associate degree, it references that same upper-level administrative experience. So the amendment that I'm offering is to add that same language in the section that talks about a college degree may be substituted with 15 years of relevant upper-level administrative experience so that the language is consistent.
Second.
Bacon?
So in the last sentence, a college degree may be substituted with 15 years of relevant upper-level administrative experience in public or private employment dealing with a public works program.
Okay, and that was seconded. Under discussion? Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, I'm going to support this amendment, but as soon as we're done with this vote, I'm going to vote to strike that entire sentence, simply for the reason that I think that as somebody with a superintendent of public works department needs more than a high school degree, regardless of the amount of experience. Thank you.
Counselor Jordan.
Yeah, I'm sensitive and warm to what Counselor Bartley's saying, and obviously that was my initial opinion in the committee, but I think we struck a compromise among everybody involved that we would make an opportunity to have the no degree with the extra experience. So that was kind of where we all kind of came down. So although I started with the Counselor Bartley position, in fairness, we ended up with the compromise, so I will support the compromise language.
Anyone?
Well, then I'll make a friendly amendment, then, if that's the case, to amend from 15 years to 20 years, because simply stating, to not have an advanced degree and to be in this kind of a position, I don't think it's going to lend credibility to the position or to the person, frankly. So I'm just going to make the amendment to change 15 to 20 years.
I'll second that.
All right. Anyone further with regards to both amendments? So we have one amendment with the language that was read by Counselor Bacon, and then changing 15 to 20. Anyone else under discussion? Seeing none, to Counselor.
There was, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but there was an email that came through that I think should be read in, for the record. So did you all receive that email?
No. So there is a communication from the DPW Commission Chair.
Yeah. Yes, could you please read that into the public record if you don't mind?
So the motion is to...
Point of order, Mr. President.
Yep.
An email, needs to be received.
Right.
And it should be on the agenda either as a late filed or part of the agenda, not just something that came to us today. There's no... I appreciate, the information, and I appreciate Councilor Anderson Burgos, but, we don't just receive things, unless they're properly filed with the clerk.
Right. Wasn't as a late file.
Then I would suggest to table this until I look at this email clearly. And I would consider that all my other councilors not vote on this just yet.
So there was a request, a motion to table.
Second.
There's a second. It's no longer debatable. On the motion to table, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Aye.
I'd say the noes have it. So back to the motion.
Can I get a roll call on that no, please?
That's one member asked for a roll call.
Second.
That's two. Need one more.
Third.
All right. So 3 members have asked for a roll call. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting to table.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
No.
McGivern.
No.
Murphy Ramboletti. No. Puello,
No.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera, Tallman,
No.
Bacon,
No.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
No.
6 yeas, 7 nays.
Your ears are working, Mr. President.
I was close. All right, so back to the motion from 15 to 20. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
I might as well have a roll call on that, too.
Might as well have a roll call. That one is too close. So is there a roll call or a raise of hands for that one?
Raise
Roll
it.
call request, please.
Well, we have people out of the room, so I don't know how we're going to have a raise of hands on
Oh,
some of these.
well, I can see it on the screen.
They can put the yellow hand up.
Oh, the yellow hand? Okay.
yellow, yeah.
All right.
Or if they wish, they
Great.
can change the color of the yellow hand to whatever they want.
Yeah, you can change it too.
So I got one roll call. Is there two more?
Roll call.
Two.
The final vote is in roll call. What's the purpose of a roll call, if I may ask?
Well, that one I said I didn't know, so they want.
No, I understand, but a show of hands will settle it.
Yeah. So clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the change of 15 to 20.
Maldonado Velez,
No.
McGee,
No.
McGivern,
No.
Murphy Ramboletti,
No.
Puello,
No.
Israel Rivera,
No.
Jenny Rivera,
No.
Tallman,
No.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
No.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
No.
Jordan,
No.
2 yeas, 11 nays.
My ears are way off on that one. All right, so back to the the motion from Councilor Bacon with the language change. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
I only heard a couple of yeses and a couple of noes, so
Well,
that wasn't even Councilor Jordan.
yeah, this to me is not even remotely controversial. This is just adding the same 4 words in front of experience that's in the 10-year and the 12-year. For the other degrees, you're just saying it must be, since that's the key word around here, Scrivener's error, because this says relevant upper level administrative experience and 10 years. The other one says if you have an associate's 12 years of relevant upper level administrative experience. And then for no degree, it just, for whatever reason, says 15 years of experience. So we're just saying relevant upper level experience. I mean, I don't think this is remotely controversial. So I would like to support the inclusion of those 4 words that is with all the others. So if we need a roll call vote on that, I'll ask for a roll call on that too.
Just one thing, Attorney Bissonnette has his hand up, so obviously he wants to comment on something. So motion
to suspend rules to allow our
suspend the rules to allow the attorney to speak. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Attorney Bissonnette.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Jordan is absolutely correct. In fact, those are his words in the ordinance committee meeting that were added to all 3 parts of this job description. And in fact, it was an omission to leave it out of that last section, as Councilor Bacon has noted. So we appreciate the work, and I believe that was intended to be included in the ordinance before you tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good.
Anyone further? All right, so the motion from Councilor Bacon, adding relevant upper level administrative experience. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so that would pass. So now we're on to pass the first reading.
Motion to pass the first reading as amended.
Motion is to pass the first reading as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion.
Councilor
I'm
Bartley
going to
has
make
a
a
question.
motion to strike that in the entire last sentence.
Councilor Bartley has made a motion to strike the entire last sentence, which is a college degree may be substituted for 15 years, so on and so forth. Is there a second? Lack of a second. Back to
Motion to pass the second reading.
motion is passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the legal language as amended tonight.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Did he vote yes or no?
He said yes.
Oh, okay, just checking.
It was Garb.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Coelho.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
No.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
12 yeas, 1 nay.
Put your vote, you approved that one.
Motion to take up item 4.
Motion is take up item
Second.
4. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Committee on Ordinance has referred, review, recommend language for changes pertaining to our reservoirs, including increase of the penalties and fines, currently more than 50 for any offense and $250 for subsequent offenses. This would be recommended that it be adopted.
So, Mr. President, I should have made a motion to take up item 2 and 4 together, but 4 has the specificity of what is in the legal language. So,
What do you want to take
do
up?
we need a separate vote just to move it off the table at this point?
We can take 2 and 4 up as a package, discuss them, and then deal with them accordingly.
Because we already voted on it.
All right, so a motion is to take up 2 and 4 as a package, suspend the rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 2 I already read, which was with regards to Ordinance Committee invite in Water Department to discuss these fines. And then 4 is the amendment, which is increasing the fines. Under discussion, Councilor Bacon.
So we've already reviewed this and you've all had the language for a couple of weeks, so it's just finalizing it. Thank you. So the motion is to pass the first reading.
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, just, Mr. President, just for clarity of all involved here, 2 and 4 got merged into what we just voted for a couple of minutes ago.
Right.
So
Right.
we don't really need to vote again. We've already adopted item 2, and they combined them both into one ordinance. So
Right.
we're good. I don't think we need a second vote if that's where this is going.
No.
Well, I'm just trying to get it off the table and
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe
we
4 has been complied with then? I don't know what we want to say about 4.
I'll defer to the president.
Well,
I think if we package them and just vote again, it
yeah, just
is
package and
cleaner.
vote, and it'll be.
Okay.
It'll be.
Do a motion to
Sorry,
reconsider.
it's my mistake that I
Mr.
didn't
President, why
package
just do a
them.
motion to reconsider our action, take 2 and 4 as a package?
Second.
That's what we did. We took them up as a package. So
So
that's
we're
what we have
on
before us.
the first
The
reading.
motion is to pass the first reading. Unless there's any more questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 2 and 4 as a package.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Coelho.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Will your vote approve that? 5.
Motion to take up item 5.
Motion to take up item 5. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Committee on Ordinance that the city amended zoning ordinance to allow front yard pools by special permit. Recommended that be adopted. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this came to us with a recommendation from planning to deny, but in committee, the committee was unanimous in recommending approval because it would be a special permit that would involve a public hearing with all the butters notified. And so it was felt that any concerns could be fully addressed in that context. And so you have a unanimous recommendation to approve from the committee. And so the motion is to pass the first reading.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, as a maker of the order, I appreciate the chair and the committee taking this up in a timely fashion and doing its, putting it through its paces. I think it makes a lot of sense, Mr. President, especially when it's a special permit from this body. And it gives us the opportunity to do our due diligence. It gives the public the chance to weigh in, and that's really important. So thank you to the chair and to the committee.
Councilor Murphy Ramboletti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am actually going to be voting against this. I wish I was able to be at the ordinance committee meeting. I was there for several hours that night, and And unfortunately, I had a very early morning, so I had to leave and wasn't able to provide my feedback. I am of the general opinion that if there is another body within our city government that is more appropriate to address some of these concerns, then I think it should be taken through that process. And my understanding is that this was brought up as the result of one individual, one resident that was looking to do something. And from what I know about working in the Office of Planning and Economic Development, this could have and should have actually been sent to the Board of Appeals. And for those reasons, they could have received a variance through the Board of Appeals. That's, I believe, the more appropriate way to address a concern about this. I think it's kind of a slippery slope to have the special permit process. The City Council oversees a ton of special permits as it stands, and I just don't believe this needs to be one of them. I think the Board of Appeals is there for a reason. So for that reason, I'm not going to be voting in favor of this, but I appreciate the discussion and the opportunity to share my thoughts.
Councilor Givner.
Thanks, Mr. President. I also feel similar to Councilor Murphy-Ramboletti. I was at the Ordinance Committee meeting, obviously, but I did read more into this and look more into this after the fact, and I also feel like there are other agencies that are already handling these kind of requests and have better information than I had at the time. So at the very least, I think this would have to be sent back, but I would today vote against it.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, just make my 2 cents is that before I filed this, I did my due diligence with the building commissioner, with the Board of Health, and with the law department. And to a department, they said this is the only way to go about this. There was no other avenue presented. The Zoning Board of Appeals was never raised. There was no other avenue. The planning department, when I met with them in a public hearing, never raised Zoning Board of Appeals to me in open session with me. So if I'd heard those words, perhaps it would have, but that was never suggested by the professionals, the aforesaid professionals. So I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll clarify, this issue also came up, and it was Councilor Bartley that worked with me to get it the way it is, and it was requested that because the way the law is for side yards, that this was the proper way to do it, and that's why Councilor Bartley then took my original order and moved it into the fashion that it is. So a special permit was the request in order to deal with a special situation, which is the way the yard is situated for this one person. That's what we needed to do. So hold on, Councilor Rivera, then Councilor Givner.
For me, at the ordinance meeting, and thank you again, Mr. President, I also voted yes during the meeting, but I was also not privy to the information of that processes, right? And I would like to actually take the time to better understand if there is a processes already in place for them to take, because if that's the case, I kind of wouldn't want to, duplicate a service. But if there isn't a processes, then it would obviously bring me back to what the original decision that I had. But to me, since I'm new, I would have to see if there's actually a processes in place, because I heard after the fact that there are processes in place for this to happen, and I kind of want to leave the people that we assign to do these jobs to kind of do their jobs, if that's the case. But if it's not the case, then we can reevaluate.
From the original start of the order to then what Councilor Bartley brought before us, it was recommended that a special permit be used in this type of situation. There are other ways to get variances and everything else for other types of build-outs, or however you want to call it. But with regards to the swimming pool, the way the ordinance was drafted, this was the suggestion that was given to Councilor Bartley and myself. So it's not like we're looking to duplicate a process. We are going by what was suggested at the time.
So could we find out if there is a process?
There is a process in the sense of dealing with other ways of, building out from a house, and you get a variance and stuff. When it came to the pool, no. That's why the special permit came up as a suggestion for fixing that, call it a issue with the process.
Thank you.
So next was Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I think about a front yard pool, no matter how many front yards you have, I start to think about also how many other people have corner lots and will be applying for the same kind of special permit. So as I think about this more and more, a special permit means that there's going to be more corners I can't see around to turn at, unless you're in a cul-de-sac. But I'm not sure that a special permit is always the answer for everything. Either you can have a pool in your front yard or you can't. So I'm feeling like if there is more information about this and the planning board has actually already suggested against it, I think it's worth tabling and looking at a bit more. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't have enough information to feel confident about a yes vote today. Thank you.
Counselor Bacon.
So I would just note that really the only variable that was brought up tonight was, could a matter such as this be brought to the Zoning Board of Appeals? And I think that we've clarified that that is not an option in this situation, and that both people who filed the orders have done their due diligence with the various departments, and that is what was relied upon, and that's the information that we had at the time of our committee meeting. And so I would encourage my colleagues to pass the first reading. Thank you.
Counselor Maldonado Velez.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo what Councilor Rivera, Councilor Givner, and Councilor Murphy-Ramboletti have said, but also on top of that, I mean, for me, I've had a couple conversations in the last couple of weeks, and I think I realized we have upwards of like 70-something special permits that have to go to the city council versus the planning board having 12. And that for me is why I'm voting no today, is because not everything needs to be a special permit through the city council. I think Councilor Givner just gave up a good example as far as like safety and the corner lots and pools and line of view. And you don't have the experience for that or the knowledge to be making this sort of decision. So I want to vote no, just because I don't want to add another special permit to our plate, especially when we already have so much going through our city council. And honestly, I think as far as a pool, can wait a couple months because, yeah, summer's not here yet.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is one of those issues when everybody is saying the correct answers. The Board of Appeals could do a variance, but you have to, as a petitioner, establish a hardship. It's not about, anybody who has a front yard, a side yard, a corner lot, can just get a variance. They can only get a variance if they establish a hardship. And I think, although I agree with what Councilor Murphy-Ramboletti said, there are other avenues, but I think what Councilor Givner said too is, we need to look at this as what's best for the neighborhood. And that's what a special permit spells out. And, the Board of Appeals is not going to hold a public hearing, whereas if we do this by special permit, we're going to hold a public hearing and listen to the neighborhood.
Correct. Anyone further? Seeing none, so the motion was to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion
to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the ordinance.
Maldonado Velez.
No.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy-Ramboletti.
No.
Puello.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
No.
Jenny Rivera.
No.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
No.
Bartley.
Yes.
Givner.
No.
Jordan.
Yes.
7 yeas, 6 nays.
Your vote, that does not pass. So 6.
Motion to take up item 6.
Motion to take up item 6. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Order that an act be approved amending the charter of the city regarding mayoral appointments. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. So the only reason I'm speaking to this is because it was an item that was taken up in Charter and Rules last session and passed by the City Council in the last session and approved by Mayor Murphy at the time. And so for some reason, which has not been totally understood, the language was not drafted in time for it to be signed and sent to the State House before Mayor Garcia was sworn in. So the language was subsequently developed and placed before us at our last meeting, under which understandably there were a number of questions and concerns by new counselors who hadn't been able to participate in the debate and discussion at the time. So the matter was tabled for people to consider it, think about it more fully, have whatever conversations they felt might be helpful to come to their understanding. And certainly it is up to the current mayor whether he chooses to sign it and move it forward or not. So right now, it's simply before us to vote to decide if we want to send it to the mayor. Thank you.
Anyone further? Seeing none, so motion is to...
The motion would be to approve and send to the mayor.
Motion is to receive, approve, and send to the mayor. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for that.
Maldonado Velez.
No.
McGee.
No.
McGivern.
No.
Murphy Ramboletti.
No.
Puello.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
No.
Jenny Rivera.
No.
Tallman.
No.
Bacon.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Nope.
Bartley.
Yes.
Givner.
No.
Jordan.
Yes.
4 yeas, 9 nays.
Your vote, that doesn't go forward. 7. Let's take item 7 up. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That the city council appoint Anthony DeLude as a member of the Board of Assessors. Motion would be to receive, adopt, and
Motion to
confirm.
receive, adopt, and approve the appointment.
Yep. Any discussion? Councilor McGivern.
Mr. President, I'm in favor of this, but I believe we still have to do a valid vote.
Yep, we're going to. I just
Okay,
didn't know if
and
people had
you can
questions.
vote for
on
whoever you want.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to
Although
go
I'm
to
in
the first
favor of
ballot.
this.
So do you need to go to the first ballot?
Yeah, you'll have to go to the
Motion to go to the first
I
ballot.
didn't know if people had questions first before we went to, because I know we
Okay.
tabled it just for people to.
Okay.
All right, so seeing none, motion is to go to the first ballot. Clerk will call your name and you state the person who you want.
Maldonado Velez.
Anthony DeLude.
McGee.
DeLude.
McGivern.
Tony DeLude.
Murphy Ramboletti.
DeLude.
Puello.
DeLude.
Israel Rivera.
Del-
Jenny Rivera.
DeLude.
Tallman.
Anthony DeLude.
Bacon.
DeLude.
Anderson Burgos.
Mr. Anthony DeLude.
Bartley.
Tony DeLude.
Givner.
Anthony DeLude.
Jordan.
Anthony DeLude.
Anthony DeLude appointed.
All I do is appoint on the first ballot. Public comment, there's no one signed up for here. Is there anyone online? All right. Mary Hurley.
The governor's counselor?
Hmm?
Yeah, I know.
I was thinking.
The most famous Mary Hurley, I know.
Is she there?
Hello.
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 Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes we can. So please state your name and address, and then it'll be 1:30, and I'll let you know around a minute.
Okay. So obviously my name is Mary Hurley. I live at 72 Lower Westfield Road in obviously Holyoke. I am supporting item number 32 submitted by Councilor Bacon regarding the loud noises and the exhaust pipe magnifications of cars near my house constantly, every single night for the past, I don't know, 3 weeks, and this is just the beginning of spring. It is illegal in Massachusetts to alter your exhaust pipe, to alter anything around your car. I am supportive of this. I am looking for support from anyone. I'm looking for support of just peace and quiet, and obviously support of quality of life. I live literally 350 feet diagonal from the former geriatric center, which is going to be
We're at a minute.
Which is going to be the new facility for Bay State. And I can deal with the construction. That is a necessary thing. I can deal with that. I am looking for support to have more support from Holyoke Police, support from anyone to make our quality of life worth it, to stay here in Holyoke.
All right, we are at our time. Thank you. Is there anyone else? JR?
Hello?
Yep, can you hear us?
Yep. Hello. Good evening, city councilors. I'll be talking, or my name is John Rivera, and I live on 125 Cabot Street in Holyoke. I'll be talking on item 35. I'll be asking for city councilors to please vote not to send this to committee, and instead to vote to withdraw this item. Everybody knows what Columbus has done, and how horrid his actions were. In fact, he wiped out a good portion of my ancestors, the Taino tribe of Puerto Rico. He and his lackeys massacred and enslaved them. This is written in history books, of course. Let's please not do this. There are many Italian heroes that we can support and create holidays out of. Columbus is unfortunately not one of them. Have a good night.
Is that it? Did we lose him? Or? No. Oh, okay. Thank you. Anyone else? All right.
Mr. President.
That ends public comment online.
Was there any emails submitted tonight?
There is an email. Was it submitted as public comment or is it just? All right. So for public comment, there is this email. This is from Councilor Patricia Devine, the chair of DPW Commission, 58 Magnolia Ave. Honorable City Council, thank you for the opportunity to meet in the Ordinance Committee to discuss changes to the 1948 ordinance referring to the DPW Superintendent and City Engineer. As stated in the ordinance meeting, contrary to some rumors, we are not proposing these changes because we had certain persons in mind as superintendent. The language needed to be changed in order to expand our search to qualified candidates for superintendent, city engineer, and senior engineer. Today I was informed that we received only 4 resumes for these positions. Hopefully with some of these changes and perhaps salary increases, our search will expand. One of my concerns, perhaps someone can explain to the DPW Commission, is what the following word meaning in the ordinance under duties, and in quotes, in addition, a general superintendent of public works shall perform such other duties not inconsistent herewith as to the City Council may prescribe. As this language has been deleted from the ordinance, thank you for your time and clarification. Patricia Devine. Are there any other ones to read? And that was it. So that would end public comment. On to communications. 8 is from the mayor, a letter appointing George Colon to Holyoke Redevelopment Authority. It's a 2-year term which will expire November 1st, 2024.
Public service.
Public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 9 is also from the mayor, hereby appointing to serve as the library board directors, Dr. Tiffany Curtis, and this would be a term that will expire February 2023. So that's the public service.
Public service.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 10 is a letter appointing Lynn Horan to Commission on Disabilities.
Public service.
3-year term, March 2025. That's the public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 11 is from the city clerk and our city administration.
Motion
city
received.
manager, and that's the minutes for March 1st, 2021.
Motion received.
Motion is to receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 12 is an addendum to the collective bargaining agreement for the City of Municipal Employees, Union Local R1-180.
Refer to finance, please.
To finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 13 is communication from Councilor Rivera regarding the CPA project proposals. Did everyone receive this?
It was a late file, if anything.
But it's a late?
Yeah.
It's a late. Shouldn't that go to finance?
I guess they communicated to Jeff without actually sending what I got. Right. They sent it to me yesterday, and I wanted me to try to put it in. I kind of didn't want to put it, but it probably is. But there's an actual extra sheet with the late file that like lays out the landscape.
Motion to suspend the rules, Mr. President. Take the late file that's been conferred between the clerk and the counselor and number 12 and send it both to
All right.
finance.
So motion to suspend the rules, take up 13 in late file B as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And send it to finance?
Yep.
All those in
Moved.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So those are done. 14 is from the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority. It's the minutes of their meetings for November 17, December 5th, and January 19. Motion is to receive. Councilor Bartley, you have a question?
Jeff, were they emailed to us? They did. It's my fault for not seeing it. Okay.
Motion is
Thank you.
receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 15 is the Fire Commission minutes of the meeting for January 20th. Motion is to receive.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Petitions.
Ordinance?
We have 16, which is a zone change. Therefore, that would go to ordinance.
From DR to BH, right?
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 17 is a street vendor license. And this would go to
Ordinance.
ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? President's report, quickly, as an update for the picture for last council. We have been in, Jeffrey and I have been in contact with the place, and they're going to give us a proof. It was supposed to be today, but hopefully by the end of the week. And hopefully we'll be caught up on the pictures. I know we're back several terms, but I think we're going to finally be caught up, so then that way when we get to this group, we'll be able to go forward without any issues. Parade is coming up on Sunday, as we all know. Thank you to Councilor Murphy Ramboletti for getting people to hold our sign and walk it. That's usually a big issue, so thank you very much. But also, start time, I think the parade starts at 11:15 from 11:10 from Kmart Plaza. You should be there around
10.
however you want, but
10 o'clock.
Be there by 10.
So road
Closures happen at 10:30, so.
Yeah, so 10:30 roads are gonna be shut down. If you're going, 10 o'clock. All right, so if you're going to the breakfast in the morning, you'll get the bus to take you up there. If you're not, you should get there around 10 o'clock, unless you're gonna park nearby and walk. But just understand, once it starts kicking off, we'll still be a little bit behind, but normally we get around, call it 11:30, we start going, just so you know the times. Chamber reached out in order to have someone join. Councilor Leahy was our assigned person for their business group. They're doing meetings every third Monday. I volunteered to do that. I will give you updates. The first one will be on the 21st after the parade, so I'm not sure how that's going to go. But anyway, and then finally, the chamber also reached out and said the Leaders Forum is April 6th at 5:30 at the Volleyball Hall of Fame. I'm not sure if everyone got that email, but if you didn't, it's April 6th at 5:30, Volleyball Hall of Fame. Anything I've missed?
So are we, yeah, I actually just had a quick question, Mr. President. Are we getting the photos for all the prior years? Like, the only one last I'm aware of is, it's around here somewhere, is like 2013.
So we did get the one that's in the box, still waiting to be put up.
Oh, okay.
So that one's there
Nice.
from the prior. The one that's being worked on now will be from just the last council. So we'll finally be caught up. And then what will be next is this group.
Okay, so we got 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
Okay.
The big issue was they had the pictures, they didn't have the payments.
We've given them their
We've
money.
now caught up on that.
Nice.
Trust me, Jeffrey did a phenomenal job catching all this up. It was a mess.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to Jeff for following up on that. It's really important. And I also want to give a little bit of a update. I really want to thank the mayor, because I did speak with the mayor and Mr. President, and he's, unlike some other decisions, he wants to put up the past governments from way back when. He wants to put them up in the hallway as a rotating basis. And I think that's positive for Holyoke's history, and I think that'll be a real draw for people as well. So thank you to the mayor for that. Those are words he said to me prior to the last meeting, and I was really grateful to hear it. And I look forward to maybe working with the Historic Commission and some other groups, and hopefully yourself, Mr. President, to start rotating these pictures and getting them up in the hallways, where they belong, where they should be on display.
One final note, because you brought it up, Councilor Bartley. I would like to suspend the rules to go out of order to item 39.
Second.
As part of the report. All those in favor? Opposed? From Councilor McGee, that the City Council give a proclamation to city employees as part of Employee Recognition Day for all their dedicated service to the City of Holyoke during the COVID pandemic. I'd make a motion to receive and adopt and approve that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? With that being approved, Friday at 9 a.m. or 9:30, we will be having and it's this Friday, we'll be having the employee recognition for City Hall. They're going to be doing a breakfast, I do believe, upstairs. And really what this is designed to do, and I give credit to Sean and the Board of Health, we went through a really tough time these last 2 years, and it's we're coming out of it, but we're kind of just going right back into what we were doing. And Sean said, a lot of people, even though we recognize them, we really want to recognize them and let them know that we truly appreciate what they did during this time. I'll give an example, the clerk's office. The clerk's office never shut down and did 4 elections, one being a presidential election, of which, unfortunately, that was at the peak of COVID. And we had no clue as to what was going on. We know what the police, fire, and Board of Health did, but other departments, tax collector, treasurer, they were still here. They were still working. We want them to know that we appreciate everything they did during this time. And that'll be Friday, 9:30-ish. We always are a little late. But if you can make it here, we greatly appreciate it. With that, Councilor Bartley, you had one other thing?
Nope.
Okay. So with that, we'll go back to reports of committee.
Mr. President?
Yes.
If we can suspend rules and take up 18A, C, E, and F as a package, please?
We can if you'd like. 18A, C, E, and F as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let me just get them in order. A is the committee on ordinance was referred in order that the pedestrian crosswalk be placed at Portland Street that meets Beach Street. A student was struck by a car. Crosswalks be accepted. C is that the committee on ordinance was referred in order that the city engineer review and determine a 4-way stop sign at Fairfield and Nonotuck. And the recommendation is not to install the stop sign. E is the committee on ordinance who was referred that the city of Holyoke establish a 3-way stop sign at the corner of Mosier, North Bridge Street. Recommend not to install. F is the committee on ordinance who was referred in order that the DPW install an appropriate signage to intersection of Chestnut and Franklin Street into a 3-way stop sign. Recommend that the engineer not install. Under discussion, Councilor Vacan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the motion is to receive and adopt the committee report.
Motion is receive and adopt the report.
And I would note that our engineer, Bob Parent, came in and did the very thorough and gave very good explanations in terms of his findings on all of these orders. I'll certainly defer to any maker of the order that would wish to speak on it further. But He also, for the new counselors, since there's 4 new committee members in ordinance and one of the 4 is returning, but the other 3 are brand new to a lot of things, he went through a lot of the technical aspects of the orders that we file, because it looks simple when we're out on the street trying to make an improvement for safety issues, but then we find, given state law and other rules, there are many different hurdles that have to be met in certain cases. So he did give us a very thorough explanation, and I'll yield to any member of the committee that would wish to speak on these further, but we're accepting his recommendation that for various reasons, these particular orders could not be implemented at this time. Thank you.
Councilor Rivera, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to note, right, that a lot of what I heard from that meeting, again, I'm not going to go against the recommendations of our city engineer. He's a professional. I'm not in the business of going against who we hire to do their job. But a lot of what I heard from that meeting, and if I'm correct, I think the lawyers that they confirmed that a lot of it is mostly considerations. If we decide to do our own decision making, possibly they might go out and search, but I heard that at the same time there is no actual police to mitigate this issue. But again, I'm not going to go against the engineer. I would not want to vote against the person that we put into position to actually do the job. But I would also like to note that the moment that we were actually meeting about these issues, someone did get hit by a car. Like, ironically, and that sucks, man. Like, so to me, it's like maybe at the state level, the rules and regulations or whatever policies they put in place for us to be able to change some of these rules may not fit what's happening in Holyoke, because there are recently a lot of people getting hit by cars, I'll be honest with you, more than usual. But just wanted to know that. I will still be voting with the city engineer, but I just wanted to point a lot of these points out.
Anyone further? So motion is receive, adopt the committee report. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 18B, committee on ordinance was referred that a no turn on red sign be installed, Resnick Boulevard, and this is recommended that be adopted.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So the motion is to pass the first reading.
So a motion be receive, adopt, pass the first reading.
And our engineer reviewed this particular order with us, and given the complexity of the intersection with competing interests, it was found to be warranted for that particular site. And I'll yield to the maker of the order if they wish to add.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank the city engineer for this. This is a great thing, and thanks to the committee for their work on it. I think we all talked about it. There's a school there, there's crosswalks, don't need to rehash it, but great recommendation by the city engineer. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is to pass the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the change.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Palello. Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve that one. 18D, Committee on Ordinance who's referring order that the city Holyoke establish a four-way stop sign at the corner of Race and Appleton Street. Recommend that be adopted. So this will be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, you already said my motion for me. Thank you. And this was a four-way stop that was found to be warranted given the area, and that I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, there was a four-way stop about a block north or south or east or west of it. So it seemed that it would be consistent so that the drivers would be anticipating it and that would create a safer situation. And I'll yield to the maker if they wish to add.
Anyone further? Councilor Rivera.
I didn't file the order, but I can add. So because on, I believe, it's Dwight and Ray Street, they have a stop sign. The the city engineer believes that accidents have increased due to that on Race and Appleton, and it actually meets the standards of the whatever acronym they used that day. So that he approves that particular intersection to have stop signs added. I just wanted to add more information.
Councilor Rivera.
I want to thank the Ordinance Committee. I did receive an email on this from a resident I believe lives in the corner where the HCC building is, and he's the one that brought it up and had the concern. So I would like to say thank you.
All right, so this one is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is to pass the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the signs.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Coelho,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Your vote, you approve that one? Yeah, Counselor.
Mr. President, can we suspend the rules to take up 18G, H, and I as a package, please?
Motion to suspend the rules, take up G, H, and I as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? G, the Committee on Ordinances referred that the City of Holyoke enforce a no parking zone and implement warnings for small fines for vehicles in violation. This is a danger for many in the neighborhood, especially concerning Ward 4 at the intersection of Hampden Street and O'Connor Ave. Recommend it's complied with. H is that the Ordinance Committee, the City of Holyoke, adopt a camera speed violation system in order to deter speeding with regards to Beach, Hampden, Dwight, Maple, High. Recommend that that's been complied with. Committee on Ordinances order that the city engineer recommend implementing a safe improvement on Westfield Road at the curve of near 292. Recommend that that's complied with. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the motion will be to receive and adopt the committee report. Under 18G and H, Chief Pratt came in, and we also had Attorney Bissonette weigh in. He gave us a review that they are able to ticket under the no parking, and we did receive feedback from the chief and from our attorney that we cannot legally implement a camera and automatic ticketing system within the city. I mean, certainly he is going to try to respond to individual counselors, making him aware of particular problem spots and intermittently increasing enforcement in various areas throughout the city. And he indicated a willingness to try to prioritize those when they come up. And then in the third order, relative to safety, our engineer said that he's going to try to look at some line painting to diminish the accident incidents in that particular area. If any of the other makers of the orders wish to add.
Seeing no one else, motion is to receive, adopt the committee report on all those. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That takes us to finance. 19A, Committee on Finance. With CPA communication regarding the recommendations for the fiscal 22 CPA projects and the list provided, recommend it be adopted. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. We received a communication and from Councilor Israel Rivera, a list of projects that CPA has vetted and voted on, and now waiting for our approval with their recommendation. We treated these as should be their projects. They do the work, the hard work, and but it does appropriately comes back to us for final approval. This year we received this as a package. I'm going to read each of them real quickly, and the recommendation of the committee is to in agreement with the recommendations of the CPA committee. The first one is Scott Tower Phase 2. It's an existing project. It's an additional $30,000 to add to the money that's being spent on Anniversary Hill Park which I believe everybody is aware of the details and the importance of that project. The second is Gutek Woods Trails improvements. This is $47,000. This is some land that parts of it were already under city control and parts of it became under city control when the developer decided not to build. It's kind of landlocked on the inside of Scott Hollow Drive. This would go hand in hand with the Anniversary Hill project, so to speak, and creating trails and creating passive recreation for citizens of, not citizens of Holyoke, but for all to use. The third is also an existing project, the Lady Liberty Project, Monument and Veterans Park. It's an additional $15,000. The bids came in a little bit higher than expected. Wisteria Hearst Museum is $125,000. There is a lot of work that's been going on at Wisteria Hearst. This would continue with the improvements being made. A lot of this is for painting and repainting the exterior and some interior rooms within the museum itself. And the final one is the ongoing project upstairs, our stained glass windows. This year, the recommendation is $80,000, and I believe that's one, probably two windows will be taken care of with this recommendation by CPA. We had Megan McGrath before us. The Finance Committee went through each of these, she answered all of our questions, and we feel, and there was a one, again, I believe at the beginning of the Finance Committee we had 11 city councilors, so I don't think we have to go into much detail. It's being recommended for approval.
Seeing no one else, clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the recommendations on the CPA.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Puello.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Givner. Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Your vote, you approve that one. 19B, the Committee on Finance to refer that the City Council give the Hoyok Public Schools permission to file the MSBA Statement of Interest for 80% reimbursement for Dean School boiler replacement, new windows, doors at McMahon, Donahue, and Lawrence. Recommend that be adopted. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Whitney Anderson reached out to me on behalf of the Superintendent/Receiver of Schools, Anthony Soto. At the last minute at our last City Council meeting, I thank the City Council for receiving this order, but also the attached language for their request to enter into a request of the MSBA to fund a couple of projects within the city. These are not building requests. These are alternate repair requests, which would be and qualify, if accepted by the MSBA, for 80% reimbursement. The first one is the Dean School boiler, which is over 35 years old, needs to be replaced with something modern. The efficiency of replacing the Dean School boiler would also not only do something that is necessary, but the efficiency and energy costs would be tremendously increased. The other three projects are windows, mostly windows, but some doors for Kelly, Sullivan, and Morgan. Probably 2 or 3 years ago, we did 3 schools, similar projects. Again, the increase of these older schools of replacing windows and doors also is a great energy efficiency move itself. Mr. Anderson answered all of our questions as always. Whitney has a credible understanding of all of the infrastructure of our school fleet itself, and there's a deadline here, and that's why it came in so quick. He was under the understanding that these projects, the deadline was April, similar to the school building project, but the deadline is actually coming up to be submitted sometime next week. I forget which day. So with respect to Mr. Anderson and what could be 80% reimbursement, the final vote would be how we would pay for this, which probably would be a bond, but that would come back to the City Council for a final vote. This is just granting permission by adopting the attached language to enter into and ask the MSBA to allow us to be considered.
Anyone further? Seeing none, motion is receive, adopt. Want a roll call for this?
Yes. Yeah, the MSBA always requires.
So clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for granting the permission.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Your vote approved that one. 19C, Committee on Finance, who has hereby requested $50,600 from Heavy Motor Equipment Operator 2, Class A differential and snow removal overtime. Motion will be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The our acting superintendent Amy Swarnowski was in before the committee again. She does a tremendous job. The heavy motor equipment operator, as explained in the past, explained again, the surplus in that line item is the problem the DPW has been having hiring employees for this position and a couple others, which pretty much entails the staff. She has made some progress in terms of hiring some people, but they still have a surplus due to that. Transferring into CDL class differential, the $600 is the difference of 75 cent shift deferment for the CDL class operators when they work the different shifts, which would occur during snow removal emergency operations. The larger item, the $50,000, $50,000 is for snow removal overtime, which took place. The account that was approved at the beginning of the year is close to being dry, and this covered the last 2 snowstorms, if I'm correct. But it's the way we've been doing business for a handful of years now. It's not pay as we go, but we want to make sure that overtime accounts are not overinflated at the beginning of the year, but recognize that they are needed when snow removal emergencies do take place. Committee recommends adoption of the transfer. She's living within her budget.
So motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the second reading. The clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel
Yes.
Rivera, Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Your vote approved that one. 19D, Committee on Finance to deferred $5,000 from other contracted services to software license usage fee, system hardware maintenance. Motion is to adopt, so receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Damian Cody was with us to answer questions on this, explain and answer questions on this this transfer request. Mayor Garcia not only signed off of this transfer request, but he too was present, as he has been for many city council, not just our full meetings, but for many subcommittee meetings. The other contractual services, Mr. Cody explained, partly because of COVID and partly because of just the way things have been going the last year, has not been used at the level it typically is used at. So he estimated it out, and he feels confident this is a surplus, and he still will have enough money in the year if there is any need. When you don't have an inspector, electrical, plumbing, more specific, you need to contract out with someone who has the licenses to do the work, and he's been doing that with a gentleman for some years now, a retired gentleman for some years from East Hampton, who fills in for the vacancy in a couple of those positions. This is something, and Councilor Jordan and other members of the committee picked up on. We were a little disheartened to understand this, and the mayor got back to us very quickly, and this could just be the tip of the iceberg. The building department this year, recently, transferred out a lot of their hard drives and computers, and as is the trend of the times, laptops are replaced, with the more advanced laptops, I guess is the way my daughters tell me when I try to explain all this stuff. But this is what the problem that we found is software licenses, usage fees, system hardware maintenance. I think we understand the 2,500 and 2,500 is because licenses are not, Adobe license I guess is one of them. Licenses are not, that have been paid for, are supposed to be the license we've always understood, stand alone and doesn't go with the hardware. We're now being told they go with the hardware. And you cannot, according to the Mr. Cody and then according to the mayor who did reach out to the IT department to make sure of this, you cannot transfer that Adobe license. So the request is for these licenses and fees and the hardware maintenance to be updated, to be transferred for the purpose of updating the new laptops that department is now operating with.
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, everything that the chairman said there is spot on. I would only add a couple things. The mayor did a great follow-up. The only thing I will point out is the license itself was only $250, so it never really got clear why we're up to $2,500. But I'm assuming that they'll only buy so many as they need. But that's right. These licenses, we're going to have to think about a new arrangement because we can't afford to be spending this on every time we change a piece of equipment. We are going to have better licensing in the future as to how this is handled, because otherwise the city is going to be wasting a lot of money unnecessarily. It sounded like from the tenor of the email, from the response from I think the gentleman is from Wally, that they're working on fixing that situation, but hopefully that's soon, because that's not a favorable situation for the city financially.
Councilor Rivera.
I guess my my questions are with regards to like the licenses, because my understanding is depending on what you purchase, if you purchase like a business license versus an individual license, you are granted more licenses under that one purchase. If you buy an individual license, so $250 each license, and if it's $2,500, I'm assuming that's 10 licenses that we're buying. So instead of, I don't know how it is, but I know that while I was working at UMass, technically UMass paid for the whole system. Now UMass is way bigger, obviously, but there's a whole system in general where, because I'm an employee and I type in my employee email, I automatically have access to Adobe, Zoom, and all those other joints. They obviously purchased it on a larger scale because they bought it as a university so that it can be interchangeable through all their staff, but that would be something to somehow try to look into, right? So that way all our staff members can be on that same wave technically, because I mean, it kind of makes sense for us to try to save money as much as we can with that piece.
Councilor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. President. This doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. I've never ever heard of licenses being thrown out with machinery and not transferred out onto another system. So I think we need to do a little more research, because we shouldn't be paying over and over again for licenses. The only time things like that change is if the software has been updated, by like 20 versions and your stuff is just so outdated it can't handle it anymore. But other than that, you either get a key which travels and you can plug it into any machine you use, or you take it off that system and you put it on the new one. So if we're just throwing out computers, that might just be like an accident on our end, but somebody needs to work with us, because I'm sure we're a pretty decent size account. Thank you.
Maybe the answer is we should have the Wally come in, because I think you're 100% right. I have the same reservations you do.
Well, hold on. So, Councilor Murphy Ramaletti.
I just wanted to say I agree. And just that I wouldn't want to, this is not, in my understanding, the result of anything the building department did, and I think we can all agree on that. But I do agree that I've been meeting with department heads over the last few months, and I haven't heard a lot of good about Wally, and I'd love to hear, from others, other department heads, or have them have the opportunity to come in. But just saying, I don't want to hold this against the building department, so I hope we can still move this forward.
One last thing.
Hold on, Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I see what everybody's making great points. I just hate to hold this up to keep them from not working, but I think we still should, do a little bit of research and find out, is this cost going to be continuing? you know, how often do we have to change these licenses, or change the fees and the hardware? Because if this stops them from doing their work out there, they're out somewhere, in the building, department's out there with their laptop, and all of a sudden now they don't have the license to work and turn the computer on. But I definitely think that we should look at the cost. I think we should approve this tonight because the money is there in that department and contracted services, but we definitely should look at what's the cost down the road. Is every single computer turned into a laptop going to cost us, some money? So that's my thought.
Councilor Rivera.
It's just a suggestion. I guess wondering if we could possibly, when we do the Explorer, trying to figure out how to mitigate this issue in the future, in the long run, right? Maybe if we could try to do department-wise, where everyone purchases the licenses together, like the city, the school department, the water department, HG&E. That way, all of us together can get a better package with regards to whatever we're purchasing, whether it's Microsoft or Adobe and stuff like that. Because, if it's just City Hall, then it's a smaller package than HG&E, Holyoke Public Schools, everyone all together. But that's just a suggestion.
Councilor McGivern.
I agree with everything that's being said, but again, there's a little bit more to this, and I think we have to get the answers. Transferring the money would allow the building department to get the necessary, and a lot of this is about Adobe, licenses so that they have the subscriptions on the laptops that they use now. And it's not all just because the hard drives were thrown away. It's I guess a dilemma that's starting to appear here and there. And Councilor Jordan is right. The Wally is working on this, and part of it is the way we purchase these licenses, and part of it is the way that they're installed. Also, and I'm not the best person to explain this, but I believe Adobe has come out with a new version that was never added to a lot of those computers in the building department. And the new version is what they need. And there was ways that IT and operators were able to open up the Adobe on all the hard drives as they went along for use in the given course of a day. And now that cannot be done because it's gone. So I'll stop there because I'll sound more foolish than I sound when it comes to IT. But the transfer doesn't mean that more work cannot be done in this, and I think the city council should get more answers, but it's still okay, to my mind, it's still okay to transfer it to allow the work being done in the building department, which is very important, to continue.
Anyone further? Councilor Dane, for the third time, motion to suspend the rules.
I spoke three. I've already spoken twice on this. I just
one.
Did I really?
Two,
Oh, okay.
this is three.
I'll think about it.
I'm going to vote against me speaking for a third time. I don't need to speak a third time on this.
Second that.
Yeah. I'm done. Thank you.
All right. So motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti. Yes. Coelho.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Your vote approved that one. 19E, Committee on Finance, who referred request for $5,000 from office manager to part-time clerk. Recommend that be adopted. So receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The transfer of $5,000, this is out of the DPW budget, is at the moment the office manager position wasn't filled, and I think it's still not filled. But the reason for transferring, more important, into the part-time clerk is the additional hours of a part-time person that have been needed because of the vacancies within the office itself. So when Amy came in to explain it to us, it's not changing the part-time clerk to full-time or kicking in any other ops benefits or any other ops that that person is qualified for. It's just a matter of being able to pay for additional hours while they're trying to fill vacancies within the office itself.
Councilor Bacon.
I would just make a quick comment that it's this kind of extra assistance of people coming in, the extra hours, that I think will be
recognized on Friday to help keep things going when there were shortages and problems operationally. So I think that's a good order.
The motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is to pass the second reading. Clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Coelho.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Givner. Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Your vote approved that one. 19F, Committee on Finance, who was hereby requested a transfer of $30,000 from cannabis stabilization to site improvements, replacing sidewalks in front of Sargent Street, Ray Street, etc. Recommend it be adopted. Motion to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to take just a couple minutes on this because I think it's a very important issue that we're going to be dealing with over the next several years and understanding, not just for us. I think the City Council better understands the issue since we had both Bob Parent was a big lead as far as the projects went. We're only voting on one this evening, and certainly Aaron Vega was with us and the mayor was with us, and we had a very, very good roundtable discussion on the issue of impact money from the cannabis industry itself. Impact money is a 3% tax, so to speak, that when we first started assessing especially the manufacturers that were opening up, the money was being received by the treasurer, which is normal, and put into the general fund. The auditor found out through the course of, I believe it was around 2019, early 2020, that's the incorrect way to handle the money. I hope everybody has seen. If not, I'll make sure you get the DLS informational guidelines that have been released that explained that you need a specific fund established for the purpose of handling impact money, and impact money has to go on projects that are impacted by the cannabis industry itself. Last June, the City Council agreed to establish what we called a cannabis stabilization fund itself. Stabilization similar in what we call our rainy day stabilization fund itself, but much more specific in terms of what you can and what more important, what you cannot use these monies for. The treasurer has received monies. I'll stop for a minute. We're estimating that prior to this fund being established, the monies that came into the city were $1.5 million. And I remember the auditor saying when that first year when she learned about the need to treat this money differently, she earmarked certain projects that qualified for the impact money itself. DLS hasn't approved that, but we're hoping that to mitigate that $1.5 million down the road, those projects during that year will be recognized as qualifying projects, and that we won't have to fully address the $1.5 million. Aaron did, Mr. Vega did explain, not to get confused, this 3% is not the 3%, which is the tax which goes on sales. That is still coming into the city. It's not part of the impact and can be spent differently. This is just the impact monies. Impact monies, if I'm correct, are pretty much one-time assessments to a new manufacturer within the city itself. We know that by zoning, we limit where these manufacturing operations can go, and we do know that our city engineer does an incredible job of looking at appropriate projects for us. So we had Bob Parent then take over after we had a very good discussion with Mr. Vega. And I'll add one more thing because I think it's important. There were 3 buckets, and Councilor Jordan got the city appropriate leadership to agree to a 4th bucket. Money can be used on infrastructure, lower wards where it has an impact on traffic coming in and out of the industry itself. Workforce development, which we had a good discussion about, and we're going to get a legal ruling on if it can be used for scholarship monies somewhere at, we would designate, of course, Holyoke Community College, to degrees that are being offered for the purpose of getting jobs in this industry. Staffing, you know, that could be the Economic Development Office itself, Planning Department itself. In Councilor Jordane's preservation fourth bucket is now part of what the city will be considering using this money for. We have one item before us, with all that said, before us this evening, and then I'll explain the rest of the items, what's going on. The projects that came in were projects, we kept 3 in committee, but 4 projects came in that are ready to go projects, shovel in the ground, ready to go, as proposed by the DPW for infrastructure projects. There is some importance here for the one that's before us this evening. It's a $30,000 project to go into the cannabis site improvements, more specific, replacing the sidewalk in front of 73 Sargent Street from Race to Main Street. Partly because there is, Boston Bud is on that location. More important, it is a project that is very disrepaired streets and sidewalks in this case, and needs to be done. The foot traffic on this particular sidewalk has increased immensely because of the Boston Bud itself. Project ready. Our city engineer is suggesting we can do this one before the end of the fiscal year. Any monies that are not spent from stabilization till the end of the fiscal year all have to be returned to this. They don't carry over even once we designate it. If the project isn't begun and completed, the monies go back to the stabilization fund itself. The amount of money currently available is $320,000 in the stabilization fund. We do know that $50,000 of that came in 2019. In 2020, about $394,000 came in, not yet verified and received completely by the Treasurer's Department, is 2021, which is estimated at $1.5 million. So the industry is bringing in monies that can be used. I will note that other communities, there is a lot going on. In other communities, there are lawsuits that are starting to pop up of where a municipality misused, according to state guidelines, these dollars. The Finance Committee, I believe, we're in favor of this $30,000 transfer. There was a lot more said in terms of prioritizing monies in the future, not just for this year, but especially for next year, as to where we'd like to see the projects be spent. And like I said, we're looking for some legal feedback for the scholarship stuff, and we do have another order besides the 3 projects we kept in committee to talk about staffing, which Mr. Vega, didn't expect us to vote on it quickly, but we will be talking about that in the future. With that in mind, the one vote tonight, before we go to returning some of these proposed projects, is the $30,000 before us now.
Councilor Puello.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I want to thank the chairman and my colleagues on the committee. I think we had a really good discussion that night, and I definitely learned a lot about the cannabis fees. I thought it was really, really good. So as far as, the sidewalk, I was a little hesitant to support it and vote for it in the committee, and I said maybe in the future, next time, we could bring some pictures. And I said I'd be going out there to take a look at the sidewalk. So I go. I didn't go that day because it was raining, but then the next day it was beautiful, so I go out. And, the sidewalk is in okay shape. It's pretty flat. There's a couple scratches on it, a couple dents or whatever, but it's flat. In terms of prioritizing, I think I've got sidewalks, at least in Ward 2. I know all over the city, Ward 1 especially, we've got sidewalks that look like Mount Everest. They're coming up, they're coming off the ground, we're missing entire chunks, squares. So in terms of prioritizing, I think that's really important, because we got to remember that this money is not going to be coming in forever. And, this is the trouble I have with it is this is an impact fee that's going straight into the sidewalk that's right next to the business. And again, I'd be more inclined to support it if the sidewalk was as it was stated during the committee. And I think moving forward, I'm definitely going to want to take a look at pictures, especially now that I went out there to verify. But for that reason, I'm not going to be able to vote for this tonight. Thank you.
Anyone further? Councilor Jordan.
one of the many takeaways from the great finance meeting we had the other night, and each of the 13 of us are going to have to just kind of think about this and ponder it a little bit, is philosophically, what does it mean to be impacted, right? Because there's a real question about that. And some people say, and I've generally held this view, that the people most immediately impacted, particularly wards 1 and 2 in particular, should get a disproportionate share of these funds, because I feel that they are most impacted, right? And I've said that pretty clear in the campaign trail, and I will say it again in this room here. So that certainly gives you insight into my thinking. But in addition to that, what does that also mean? We need to be careful that this doesn't boomerang on us to the point where, unless it's their street and their sidewalk in front of their business, that's the only thing we're allowed to spend the money on. That's not, in my opinion, the rule. And we're not going to solve that tonight on this one, but I wanted to raise it because as we begin to look into these type of appropriations, we should not be bound to say that the only thing in Ward 1 or Ward 2 or these associated areas that we want to put these funds have to be their street and their sidewalk. It could be Center Street. It could be Lyman Street. It could be, South Summer Street. It could be Cabot. My point is, I'm a little concerned because the general philosophy that I was hearing, and if you look at every single one of the projects that came before us, it was their street, their sidewalk. And we've got a lot of need in Ward 1 and 2, and it isn't necessarily these. So I want us to go to where the need is highest. And again, we won't solve that tonight, but I wanted to put that out there for everybody to kind of think about and put your arms around and see where you come down on it. There's a lot of different ways to look at it, but I don't want us to have such a sheltered view of what impact is, that it's just benefiting them. No more than when we pay taxes, we can say, well, just fix the sidewalk in front of my house because I just wrote you a check for my property taxes, all right? So anyways, just wanted to kind of put that out there as there's going to be a series of funds, and we're going to have these for about 5 years until these things start to dry up. But I thought that was an important takeaway from the meeting. Thank you.
Councilor Rivera.
For me, I feel like the definition of community impact is changing. When the vote first went through, and there were meetings at Kelly School, there were meetings at different places, there were a variety of different entities that wanted to come into Holyoke, and they were touting the community impact fee as something that would benefit the lower wards. And now with this new development of how they're defining it, for me, it kind of feels like the communities have been duped a little bit, in a sense, right? The expectation is that the community impact fees would assist in improving the roads, the sidewalks, some parks, maybe even support some programming within the neighborhoods that were there. But with the way it's being defined now, and like Councilor Jourdain stated, if you look at the projects, a lot of them are within the vicinity of the establishments, which, I mean, some of the streets do need the repair, some of the sidewalks need the repair. But again, I would argue is like, what is really community impact then, if that's the case? And then for me, it's like, it kind of sucks, right? Because all the IG zone is Ward 1 and Ward 2. Eventually, right, if we're getting new businesses and we can only spend around them, the new businesses that are coming on those 5-year community impact agreements, we're technically not going to be able to spend all their money because we've already increased or improved all the areas around where they're at. We're going to run out of space, and we're going to still have the money coming in, so we might not even be able to spend it to that extent. So I might be following an order to change the IG zone for the marijuana industry so that it's fair and spread out equitably across the city if it's not going to be impacting just wards 1 and wards 2 the way they said they would. And that's my piece.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you. That's great points, and I really respect Council Paulo has stated that, went by there and saw that sidewalk, and I know we've had committee meetings before in DGR. We had photographs of different areas that we want to improve or look at. So I think that's one thing, one takeaway from that. We should have some photographs of all those listed projects that they want to do. But also we got to realize that this is, you know, who is it impacting? As Councilor Jordan stated, is it impacting the business? The community? Is it affecting the people in a certain ward? You know, how is this business now in wards 1 or 2, you know, around this area, this neighborhood now? How is it affecting the people? And I think we brought up at that meeting also about bringing back sort of like the DARE program, you know, educational for the kids and for the people in that area, because of the issues that can resolve, you know, can happen because of, you know, drugs or alcohol, even though it's legal. How do we get to a point where we educate the children about, you know, the harms of this product? But I think every time we bring a thing forward, we have to think clearly. How is this going to impact the total community? You know, there might be some ways, as Mr. Vega stated, that there might be some park up in Ward 3 that might be able to be helped because of this. You know, it's not just the certain wards. What can we do to lessen the impact of certain people? And some of these walks and driveways and streets, you know, do need some work, you know, but we'd like to see the look. We'd like to see the photographs. We'd like to see how is this really helping, not just the industry, but how is it helping the community?
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope as we're investigating the use of this funding that we'll be able to look more deeply into if it could be used relative to the odor mitigation issue that's coming up, because clearly that's impacting well beyond the immediate vicinity of any of the marijuana industries. It's impacting the residents and the businesses that are abutting and up to 1,000 feet away. So I think we're starting to get into some of the unintended consequences of, you know, something that we're looking to bring money into the community. And I think before we expand this any further, we need to come to terms with how we're going to mitigate the negative impacts that people are already starting to complain about. Thank you.
Councilor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. President. It seems to me like this would be a ripple, and it's starting at the businesses. So their impact fee is going to start there, and like Councilor Rivera said, they can't just keep spending it on their own sidewalks. So eventually it's got to spread out. I don't know where the best place to start is, but I don't see why we wouldn't want to start somewhere. If they want to start with the sidewalks there, I don't see a problem with it. I'm sure that this is just the first of many you know, improvements that'll be happening throughout wards 1 and 2 where most of the industry is. And yeah, I don't really see a problem with this unless there's something else we think needs to happen first. But I think this is just the beginning and we have to start somewhere. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, to Councilor Givner's point, and it's a good point, I think why I was taken a little bit aback was the frame of reference at the meeting, which was sort of like the argument in favor of these locations was because they're being helped. Like in order to spend the money, you've got to show some correlation back to direct benefit to them. And I'm suggesting I don't see how that's necessarily true. And I don't think that's the standard. Now, we need to make sure we keep studying what the standard is, and as this gets developed, because it is new. But my point is, impact is greater than just impact to them. It's impact to the whole community. And why I raised it as an issue is because it felt like the reason they were arguing in favor of these projects was because they were saying, this helps them, so this is okay. And as opposed to fixing a sidewalk on Lyman Street that might be in way worse condition, they're like, well, we really can't do that because that's not directly correlated back to them. So I just wanted, that was the part of the thing that, you're right, like if this was bad and now it frees up money to fix all these other areas, that would be fine. But what I was getting, pointing out was the fact that I think they need to study this a little bit more, that any of the area is considered impacted for a variety of reasons.
Councilor Bartley.
Yes, Mr. President, yeah, just if I could, I just want to go through the chair to my friend Joe for a second. I might have a follow-up question too. Just through the chair to the finance chair. Joe, Mr. Chairman, just what's the process? How did this come before us? Was there an application process available, or was this just put forth by the OPED director himself? Was there any kind of an open process that you're aware of, Joe?
Let me explain the process and the open. I'm not sure if I can give you the best answer, but I mean, this is an appropriation that is actually through the mayor, who used the OPED office, who, most important on this particular project and a series of projects that are in the hopper, used our city engineer. Mr. Parent shared with the Finance Committee, I talked about a map, which I think we all know that there's other sources of revenue that are used throughout the city for different projects. Community block grant monies over the last 15 years, the amount of sidewalks and streets that have been used with block grant monies is very impressive, and that can be demonstrated in the map that the city engineer has. But I was more impressed with a map that he shared with us at the Finance Committee that maps out the priorities of sidewalks, streets, and projects, infrastructure projects that are needed. Sidewalk, streets, infrastructure owned by the city, not by any private entities. The city owns them. We are responsible for them. We are liable for them. Whether it's a pothole in the street, whether it's a tree uprooting a sidewalk, injuries, broken axles, tires blown out, the city becomes liable for them. So back to your question, Councilor Bartley, through the chair, is the city engineer used his knowledge of the projects that are needed, best identified the use of impact fees on the cannabis industry, and I think what Councilor Jordan is saying is correct. That definition has to be shored up a little bit because, and Councilor Givner said it too, the impact could be a block or two away. It doesn't have to be near a business. It could be traffic coming in from out of town to purchase, to look for a product. The openness of the process was the prioritizing of appointed officials. How much he contacted elected officials prior, I don't know, but he came to us with these as a priority itself. That map was supposed to be forwarded to us. I'll defer to our administrative assistant. I think it's something that will help all of us in looking at future proposed projects. I think Mr. Parent, who unfortunately may not be with us much longer, is aware of what was said at the Finance Committee meeting in looking to prioritize. I think all councilors this evening, are interested in how do we prioritize the use of this impact money over the next 5 to 7 years. But as far as open, Councilor Bartley, that's the best I know. That's the process that was used.
Yeah, I think that's a very helpful answer. So, Mr. President, as most of us are aware, and all appropriations have to be originated by the mayor and the mayor alone. If those who are concerned about this, I would suggest talk to the mayor and advocate for whatever area you think has to be impacted. I don't think we should talk about conspiracies. It comes from the mayor, probably at the recommendation of the city engineers. You just heard the finance chair say. But other people can make recommendations to the mayor. So I think that's important. However, I would also suggest that the mayor should probably, with a fund like this, you just heard other councilors talk about this, veteran councilors talk about this, the finite term of these funds, there should be a plan, right? There should be, if we're going to use stabilization funds for anything, even though this is a special stabilization account, there should be some kind of a long-term vision just put forth by the mayor. And I know he follows our meetings. I know he watches us closely. The mayor should have, with the city auditor, our appointee, hopefully with the finance chair, hopefully with you, put forth some kind of a proposal that we can see the use of these funds going down the road. So we don't have to have a point-by-point debate over every single city block or sidewalk, whether it's in front of a marijuana place or not. My last point, Mr. President, and it's a point of order, but I think you'll agree, I believe this, since the stabilization, this requires a 2/3 vote.
Yes.
And that was not announced by the chair. No, I'm just saying, so most councilors who've been here more than half a minute realize that. But this is a 2/3 question for anything coming out of stabilization, whether it's this stabilization account or the other one. So I just want to thank the finance chair for a wonderful explanation, because it helped me a great deal. I hope what I just said has some sort of impact, because I know you're on top of it, Todd, as generally you are, and the mayor being brand new, you can't get your arms around every single thing with a school system in such a disarray as we have, and that's half his job. And then on top of this, with a brand new mayor with a brand new stabilization account. So the thinking from my end is that with Mr. Parent or with the new engineer, as well as a new superintendent, we can have a plan put forth so that we can all, somewhat similar to maybe even a CDBG type thing, we can sort of get a sense from his perspective as to where the first 100,000, the next 500,000, where that's going to go, and we can have a kind of a global discussion over it instead of a piece by piece debate over a sidewalk. I mean, come on. I mean, 30 feet, 40 feet. I'm not going to vote for it because I heard my friend who represents that area. I'm going to vote no. I just think we need something a little more. A fuller picture of what it is, what the plan is for these monies, these special monies with a finite term. Thank you.
Councilor Maldonado Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. What comes up for me is, am I against fixing the sidewalks and the roads of Holyoke? No, of course not. I'm pretty sure that's why a lot of people voted for each one of us to fix our roads or streets. My thing has been what I said during the Finance Committee meeting is, what is the process that we're using to, how are we using the stabilization piece? There's a key word that comes before impact fee, and that word is community. So how are we getting the community's feedback as to how we use this money? And right now it doesn't seem like it's getting community feedback. So that's why I would vote no for this, not because I'm against fixing the sidewalk, but because I'm against using the specific money in a way that, another thing that I mentioned, would possibly put us in a lawsuit. I mean, right, as mentioned, this is right in front of a specific marijuana business. How are other marijuana businesses going to feel about this? There's other cities and towns across the Commonwealth that are getting sued over how the cities are using the impact fee. So I want to make sure that we're covering our behinds before we get there. So that's why I will probably be voting no for this.
Councilor Puello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for the discussion. Thanks to my friend, Councilor Bartley. He's totally right. There needs to be a plan. There needs to be a vision. And I just very quickly, I just wanted to address again prioritization. I want to make sure we're not forgetting that piece. That's all I'm advocating for, is to prioritize. So that ripple, right, coming outward in, or inward out, my bad, needs to come from the outside in. So prioritize the residents of the city for once instead of businesses. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I look around the room, including a couple councilors on Zoom, and I see 13 very qualified individuals to represent the people of this city. It's our job to make decisions for the people who live here. That's why they elect us. That's why we stand up and say, this is what we believe in, this is what we want to do for this city, this is how we're going to do it. It's our job. This is a city project. It's for the community, and we are publicly meeting in a public meeting. The DPW Commission met in a public meeting. The mayor he's got the same charge with a little bit different responsibility in terms of initiating appropriations. And we have a city engineer that is probably, in the line of a lot of great city engineers, the best city engineer this city has ever had. If you look at the map he presented to the Finance Committee, you will see a vision, a plan of how he works. Not only does he know what needs to be done, but he knows the DOT projects that are upcoming, 2020, unfortunately, he told us our 2023 project for Maple and High Street is being a little bit delayed, which is typical of DOT, but a tremendous project for this area, for this city. He knows the money that's going to be spent, that has been spent. If you look at Heritage Street, if you look at Ray Street, if you look at the canals, he knows where other project monies are coming in from the state, and he knows how to take the big picture and take this pot of money and put it together with the big picture, the big vision. Can we participate in making that vision? Absolutely, and we should. And I think the city engineer and most of our DPW employees and department heads work with us on that. But when it comes time to do something, $30,000 for this project, for this proposal, shovel ready is something that we should all be in favor of. Thank you.
Councilor Rivera.
I guess my comment has to do with processes. I think about a month ago, I filed an order to have the council somewhat develop somewhat of a process of either dishing out the funds or of having the city or op-ed office with the mayor promote to a group of either city councilors or community residents or community businesses within Ward 1 and Ward 2 so that there is community voice. I understand that we were elected by the people to kind of represent them, but at the same time, I kind of ran my campaign on trying to promote community voice as much as I could and try to bring them out to us as much as I could. Some of the public meetings that we've held in the past, they're held, but you don't barely ever see the people that are technically being serviced at these meetings. It's usually the same characters and the same people. I was one of those meetings at one time, and now I'm sitting in the chair. Ultimately, for me, it's promoting community voice to the utmost as I can. If I got to make a decision for the community because I'm elected as an elected official, then I will. But ultimately, I kind of want to try to develop a process where there's residents involved and the residents can say, hey, I don't mind having the sidewalk improved over here on Sargent and Cabot Street or Ray Street or whatnot. Or maybe it better served in a different spot over here or over there. So that way it's community buy-in, and then when the state actually comes in to say how is it affecting the community and community buying into it, we can actually give a strong argument that it's a community process where everyone is involved, not just one person making a decision or a group of people making a decision that are in leadership, which is cool, but at the same time, we got to kind of like delve out some of that power to the community members that live in the community, because I feel like that is part of our job too at the same time. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone further? So the motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the second reading. The clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Maldonado Velez.
No.
McGee.
Yes.
No.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Puello.
No.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera. Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
No.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
No.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
No.
8 yeas, 6 nays.
Your vote, that one.
I'm
does
sorry,
not-
5 nays.
That doesn't pass. Motion to take up as a package, Councilor McGivern?
So the vote was 9.
8-5.
8 to 5, so that didn't.
That passed, that's what I said.
It didn't pass.
Didn't pass, you need
Yeah,
9.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I didn't-
Okay, I just
Need
thought.
9. Stabilization, need 9.
Exactly, yep. Okay, moving on.
G, H, I, J, K, and L. Suspend the rules, take up as a package.
Third.
All right. So G is 300,000 from cannabis stabilization to various projects. H, 30,000 from stabilization to other projects, which would be Canal Street, fencing. I is 75,000, which will be applied to pedestrian improvements, North Canal Street. J is 100,000, then to be improvements for the entrance of Hadley Mills Road. K is for 40,000 from stabilization to crosswalk lighting, parking, Dwight Street. L is 40,000 from stabilization to repaving Ray Street and Cabot. These are all returned to the auditor Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's 2 or 3 different reasons to return these. I think they were given to us to show the big project of some of the highlights of different projects, and I don't doubt each of these are worthy and stand on their own. But these particular projects are not capable of being completed within this fiscal year. Therefore, we cannot earmark monies from a stabilization fund, for that purpose. There also were some questions of actual dollars and some other, and I think, again, the city engineer heard our finance committee discussion that, we're looking for a process, to finalize and to do the best to prioritize all these projects. So simply put, it's at this point, the finance committee and even the engineer agrees that these are better returned. There's still 3 other projects in the finance committee. I'm not sure if we should take them up or not, but I guess right now these cannot be done this year. Therefore, there's no sense voting on them.
Councilor Rivera.
I just wanted to point out at 19I, right, in my opinion, right, and it's just my opinion, right, this would be something that kind of actually makes sense with the community impact, right? Canal Street and the investment and the opportunity to try to invest in Canal Street and improving Canal Street across the board within that district, that is something that in my whole entire life living in the flats, I've never seen any improvement other than the new fences when someone crashes into the fence and goes into the canal. And I think HG&E replaces those fences because of the accidents or whatnot. But this would, for me, would be like a project that kind of makes sense within those particular communities because it can actually connect from the flats to South Holyoke, from the South Hadley Bridge, all the way across the board. But just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
And it does make sense. Like I said, each of these projects stand on their own, makes sense. But our city engineer understands that there are other DOT monies coming in that complement this project, and therefore we cannot do it this year, and that's why we're sending it back. Not because we don't want to do it, because you got to catch up with the DOT and the big plan and put the monies together in a timely fashion so they can be used together.
So with that, all these go back to the auditor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? There was no Public Safety Committee. There was Public Service. 21A, Committee on Public Service refer to Mayor. Letter appointing Stephen Fay to serve as the local historic district commission for Fairfield Ave, which would expire July 1st, 2025. Recommended that they confirm the appointment. Councilor Tallman.
Yes, to receive and adopt and recommend the appointment be confirmed for Mr. Fay.
Other discussion?
Yes, we had a interesting meeting with Mr. Stephen Fay with our Public Service Committee. We had the 3 members, Councilor Bartley and Councilor Puello, myself. We also had probably about 9 other councilors in the room and on Zoom total. Mr. Fay lives up towards North Pleasant Street by Yale Street, really wants to be involved in the city. When the call was made out to help out on different boards, he contacted the mayor and said he's willing to help out. He's originally from Ellsworth, Maine. He worked for the Berkshire Eagle up in Pittsfield, Mass, and also has lived in Berkeley, California at one time. He has the time, he's retired, and he's willing to step up and volunteer for this position on the local historic committee on Fairfield Avenue, the commission.
Anyone further? Councilor McGivern.
Committee did a great job of, first of all, Mayor Garcia put a wonderful appointment in front of us to confirm. The committee did a great job of talking to Stephen Fay, and he was fascinating with a lot of his ideas, and like Chairman Tallman pointed out, his history and his experience. Probably the most important thing to me is as a mayoral appointment, on this particular type of commission, he understands the importance of preservation of an historic district and at the same time being flexible with property owners, and he said all the right things.
Anyone further? Seeing none, this is to confirm the appointment. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
21B, Committee on Public Service, who was referred, in order that the mayor appoint Marcos Marrero to serve as a commissioner for the gas electric, which will expire July 1st, 2026. Recommend that the appointment be referred to the council. Under discussion, Councilor Tallman.
Yes, I'd like to receive and adopt and have the appointment confirmed. We met with Mr. Marrero here for about a good hour and a half. We had several questions from him. Everybody's familiar, mostly people are familiar with Marcos. He's worked for the city, I believe, about 9 years in the OPED office. He has a bachelor's degree in economic and political science from the University of Puerto Rico, a master's degree in public administration from Princeton University. He has, one of his quotations was that the G&E is probably the city's greatest asset, with a great department head and great workers. He has, experienced, work in Puerto Rico, New York City for the development office, and he worked for the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission and also for the city of Holyoke. I learned a few things that night. I didn't realize that Holyoke is 40% oil, heating with oil. So there's a big number there. And a big thing that came up with Marcos was that he was against gas, and I think the questions were asked to him is saying that he'd be willing to increase the capacity of gas if it was allowed in Holyoke. And we got to look at a new way to get our energy to our community, to our businesses, and I think with the questions that were asked of him, he came across as somebody that was very knowledgeable about energy, about the department, and I think he'd be a great G&E commissioner.
Anyone further? Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, I thought we had a really good meeting the other night, and I commend the committee for doing such a fantastic job. I thought Marcos did a very good job. Obviously, I asked him a lot of questions because of the sensitivity around the gas moratorium, and I thought he did a fine job answering my questions. One of the few of the takeaways was the fact about wherever we come down personally on future uses of energy, that the people of Holyoke alone cannot bear these costs, and that if we're going to have major changes to take away gas service or to make major policy changes, that we have to consider the impact on the individual. And for the 10,000 customers in the city of Holyoke that rely on natural gas service, for the 2,000 households in Southampton that also are customers of the G&E that count on gas service, that they cannot afford to bear the cost to do that. And I felt Marcos, both in the meeting and privately, said to me that, the equitable thing to do is to not put that on a poor community like Holyoke, and he is sensitive to that, and he was not in any itching way to take away gas service, and was supportive of a number of the opportunities that we have to expand capacity. So that, I thought, came out really well in the hearing. This is why we have these hearings, so you can get to the bottom of these questions. I thought he made it crystal clear on the record that he is not anti-gas, that he is in favor of a department that will support expansion of service, whether it's LNG, CNG. There's a lot of different things we can do. I thought he came up with some really good ideas around expanding efficiency and freeing up opportunities. As councilors may recall, recently we we're in the process of studying to try and take Dean Voke offline by using other services through grant money, and that would free up natural gas service. So I thought that was very much reassuring, because if I've heard anything from my constituents, it's preserve my natural gas service in this community. I've heard that loud, I've heard that clear. Electrification is not financially viable in this community in any real sense, in any material sense, to do it on a wholesale without major infusion of cash from either Washington or Boston. Certainly our constituents and businesses cannot afford the type of cost it would take to take away natural gas service. We're talking $20 million plus to decommission the gas division, $100 million plus to even have the electrification lines in the city, and yet another $100 million that would be on our constituents themselves to do these conversions. So I thought he was very sensitive to that, and that was very reassuring to me. Obviously, Marcos, I've worked closely with him in his prior role at OPED, and I thought he did an excellent job there. He's obviously a very smart and thoughtful guy. So I look forward to him standing by those sensitivities over the future, and I also appreciated in particular his comments of strong support of Jim Lavelle, who we all know is outstanding as a manager of the G&E. I would be remiss, however, if I did not also, in part, say something positive to about Bob Griffin. I thought it came across at the hearing, but I did want to say it on the record that it's too bad that Bob is not being reappointed. I know this is ultimately the mayor's decision, but Bob, I did want to just say wanted to be reappointed. It just wasn't in the cards, and that's totally the mayor's prerogative, 100%, and that is certainly no way anything negative towards Marcos. But Bob, at very low cost, I think they do get a small stipend of some form, has dedicated 20 years to the Holyoke Gas and Electric, and I have never heard anybody say one negative thing about Bob's service. I know Jim speaks glowingly of Bob Griffin, and I wanted to thank Bob on the record for his 20 years of dedicated service to the gas and electric. His hard work has been appreciated by a great number of people. I'm certainly by the leadership and the employees of the G&E, and wish Bob nothing but the best, and perhaps there's some other way for Bob to continue to serve the community. He's a very talented and smart man. So thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to echo that. I think Mr. Marrero did a fantastic job, and it was quite enlightening to watch and listen to all the positive things he had to say about energy in Holyoke. I just think it's important that we should be really careful about when we use language like when we say take away people's services. I think it's really important to remember that no one can take away anyone's services, and any kind of changes to people's fittings to their homes, if they want to go electric, we know that's on their own cost. If we build new buildings, we probably will figure out ways to implement new ways to fit them for energy, but I think it's really dangerous when we talk about our communities and create this fear factor as if somebody's going to come in and take away things from them. I don't think anybody's going to come to my house and turn my gas off and force me to buy electric and put solar panels on it. So I just thought it was nice that he really helped point that out and helped, really clarify the problems with systems in place and pointed out some options for the future while also advocating for what we already have and the great systems that we have in place. So I thought that went really well. Thanks.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I find that the appointee that the mayor has chosen is definitely a very intelligent person, and he is definitely very articulate. And so I don't question his ability to get up to speed and learn what the current status of things are in the HG&E at all. I was more taken aback by the fact that our mayor didn't keep the current commission intact, because with all his other appointees, he's kept the people in place, even if we're being sued for some of the actions of the people that are in place. So that's just my personal perspective on it, because to me, if something is working really well and they are the best thing that you have in the city, why would you want to change that? But having said that, that has nothing to do with whether Mr. Marrero could be an effective commissioner. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Everything that's been said, I think I don't want to recap. Councilor Jordan pointed out the highlights of, he's a big fan of Mr. Lavelle, understands and recognizes the importance of Jim Lavelle to the gas and electric and to the city. He's a very understanding of the energy crisis and of the issues that, evolve around the environmental crisis, but also the ability for the city to get the energy that we need. We produce some of our own electricity. We are, in many, many ways, more green than any other community, and I'm not just talking about St. Patrick's Day, more green than any other community in the Commonwealth, and we don't get credit for that. And I think Marcus wants to advance that thinking, but at the same time protect our customers and protect the people who, many years ago, natural gas was encouraged to be the replacement of oil, to be replacement of coal, to be replacement of energy that is fossil fueled, and natural gas was considered the clean fossil energy, and many of us switched for those reasons, trying to do the right thing. And with all that said, I don't want to, sorry, I did start to repeat everything that's been said. There was one area I just wanted to quickly highlight with the questions that I asked that I think we sometimes forget, but they do tend to come to the forefront. Whether it's our water department or our gas and electric department, they are both created by the city, by special act, and owned by the city. And therefore, the city has and always will have a say in what goes on in both of those departments, even though user fees, service fees are how their revenue is generated. Tax dollars are not used for the services and the products that they sell. But they're our biggest assets. The water out in Tycomedy, which I think, Mr. President, following in the line of the past president of the City Council, we need to, Councilor Jordan, get all members of this body up to see Tycomedy. We need to get all members of this body to see the dam inside out and to see what the gas and electric owns. So my questions, and Marcus, I'll be honest with you, didn't give me the full answer I wanted, but he did give me the understanding of the importance. If the Gas and Electric Commission or Water Department wishes to sell property, they have to come back to the mayor and the City Council for approval. And please, down the road, pass that on to everybody that sits in this chambers, and try not to forget that, because that doesn't always happen. And they came to us when they wanted to take over the dam because they had a bond money, and they have to get our approval to bond. It goes on their user fee, not the city debt service, but on their debt service itself. But they need our approval. The ownership of the dam, the canals, the property that the gas and electric is owned by everyone who lives in this city, just like Tycomedy and our inner city reservoirs are owned by everybody who lives in this city. And as elected officials, they should always have a say in that. If you read some of that language that created the gas and electric, they can buy and sell property for the purpose of their uses. That's correct. But when they sold the former administrative building on Suffolk Street, which is now a parking lot, and bought the building up a couple blocks up, the former Holyoke Savings Bank / Fleet / so on, they came to the city for approval to sell, but they did so kind of reluctantly. And that's a minor thing compared to what if they decided to sell the dam? What if they decided to sell canals or to sell other property that is owned by the gas and electric? I think Marcus heard the message, and I think he'll do the right thing. His qualifications speak for themselves, and I'm in favor of the confirmation. And I will miss Bob Griffin, because he's one of those commissioners, when you spend 20 years there, we've been very fortunate on the gas and electric and the water department to have experienced commissioners, and it's incredibly important.
Seeing no one further, motion is to receive and adopt and confirm the appointment.
Mr. President.
Councilor Anderson Burgo, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. So first of all, I want to apologize for how I conducted myself in that meeting. I haven't been myself for personal reasons, and that's no excuse regardless. But I want to clarify that I am not apologizing for what I said. I meant every word that I said. I also want to mention that I respect parliamentary procedures, and there are times when other councilors are speaking, and no matter my burning desire, what that may be, or how much I want to talk while they're talking, I would never interrupt their message. No matter how much I disagree with the person, I respect the procedures enough and the councilor's comments to not interrupt. But that, again, just want to apologize for how that all unfolded. The city shouldn't have to deal or see that. And especially Marcos, who's someone who I have so much respect for. I feel that I kind of let him down on how I conducted myself. But I do promise this, I will try to be much, much better. And I hope and pray that other councilors follow suit when it comes to parliamentary procedures. Thank you.
Councilor Maldonado Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. As much as I'm excited to vote for Michael Marrero today, someone that I've spoken with before, and I think he will do a great job. Be honest, I don't know who Bob Griffin is, but I've also heard good things, so I'm actually, so I'm sure, thank you for his service, and I'm sure he's done a great job. The rest I wanted to say is just more of a point to, I would say, the veteran councilors, because since I started on the council, there's been a lot of veteran councilors talking to us newbies, but I want to talk back in that this appointment was actually put in during the former mayor, and it was then submitted to the DGNR committee, which is not the committee that usually appointments go to. It usually goes to a public service committee. I just want to let the veteran councilors know, and I hope that you know at this point, that us quote unquote progressives are not a monolith. We're going to vote how we feel is right. We're not all going to vote the same all the time. So I hope that the rest of this time here is not playing these little games of, oh, well, let's try to bury it in some sort of committee. Let's put in the committee that is supposed to. Let's have the discussions. Let's have the questions, and let's get things done. Thank you.
Anyone further? Seeing none. So motion is receive, adapt, and grant the confirmation for the term that will expire January 1st, 2026. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? No. The ayes would have it.
Mr. President, can I suspend the rules and take up, is it 21W?
Take up 21W. There's U and W, both complied with. Is that what you're looking for?
No, just the one about the Google Drive. Take that up, and then the other ones we'll do a brief reading on. But if we can take up 21W.
Motion to suspend the rules, go to 21W. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Committee on Public Service was referred in order that our administrative assistant invite in and provide a quick tutorial during the public service meeting regarding Google Drive folders. Recommend it's been complied with. Councilor Tallman.
Yes, I want to thank our administrative assistant, Jeffrey Anderson Burgos, on this. He brought this up to me and tried to give maybe a 10, 15-minute briefing on Google Drive, which some of us old-timers or veterans not too familiar with. But it was a very interesting brief meeting, more or less trying to put things in folders, trying to put the council orders together, the charter and rules, if an item is tabled, why is it tabled, updates, and if we continue something, if it's continued, well, why is it continued? So, and it's going to work for the public also, and I really think this was something good for us. It's more or less a point, the more you use it, the better better you get with it, the more confident you get with it. And I think it was very important because we've been getting stuff sometimes and it's got the Google Drive and how do you open it? Where do we put things? And it's really amazing that you can, put everything near all the orders and the reasons why they were submitted, who they're submitted by, the dates. I think it's something in the future that really is going to be helpful and really clean a lot of things up for the council and for the public to follow things, follow the committee meetings. I really appreciate him bringing that forward.
Anyone further? So motion that this is up. All right, so that this is complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? What about 21U?
No, we're going to do 21U, is it?
Yeah, because that's complied with as well.
Okay. Take about 21U.
And the rules go with 21U. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Committee on Public Service referred in order that we create a food economic coalition to identify the purpose of innovative policies, programming, solutions to improve Holyoke food systems, and this has been complied with.
Yeah, I just want to say we had this, and I think we were looking at this. They're going to come back to us and probably send some to ordinance. We had Cynthia Espinoza in, and we had a couple counselors online. I think it was Mr. Maldonado Velez that had spoke on this, and it's going to be sort of similar to the bike ped committee, but it's something that I think would be very helpful with the food insecurity that's what we've been dealing with, and it's something that. We're going to try to get a group together, working through the Board of Health, DPW, and OPED to try to put something together to really see if we can expand access to healthy food in the community.
Going further, so motion is that it's complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. So next we suspend the rules, take up
21C.
package 21C to 21T, and then V and X.
Yes, please.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And a brief reading, abbreviated reading for those, please.
So 21C is for mobile trailers for voting, leave to withdraw. D is regarding youth, appointing a youth or student to serve on the council, leave to withdraw. 21E, the Holyoke City Departments respond to quality of life issues in the homeowners and renters residing within Chestnut, Elm, Appleton. Recommended that give to leave to withdraw. F is the Chief of Police and appropriate mental health care professionals inform us on the best practice dealing with overdoses and protocols. Recommended leave to withdraw. G is the mayor letter appointing Carmen Morales as a commissioner to serve as 1 year will expire. I recommend leave to withdraw. 21H, that Representative Vega Homison requests a moratorium on group homes. Leave to withdraw. Next one is trustees of the Soldiers Home attend the next meeting of the City Council addressing the timeline for recent events with regards to the Soldiers Home. Leave to withdraw. J, would be a legal department to come before the council to update on Yale Street. K is law department, building commissioner, mayor, board of health, MHA project on Yale Street. Leave to withdraw. L is the council looking to place in a history marker at the corner of Cabot and Summer Street. Leave to withdraw. M is public service. Council hold a hearing exploring preparations for the upcoming 2020 election for September, November, including vote by mail election. So that is leave to withdraw. And the City Council adopt a resolution for disarmament and prevention of nuclear war. That's leave to withdraw. O, the Committee on Public Service order that the absentee ballots and mail-in ballots shall be open to in the City Council chamber while on camera. Leave to withdraw. P is that the Public Service was referred in order that the DPW look into replacing the trees on High Street with flexi pads. Leave to withdraw. Q is that the DPW look into replacing the City Council desks and chairs. Leave to withdraw. R, that the that one you should have kept, but hey.
We could file another order on that one. Right, Joe?
Maybe you're looking for better chairs than what I was asking.
Maybe we can use cannabis money, impact money for that.
It is an impact.
We've been sitting in his chambers a lot this past year.
We're voting on their stuff, right? Yeah.
City clerk, register of voters provide a current total of registered voters to ensure that the updated actually leave to withdraw. S is that Mayor Garcia, letter appointing Jennifer Keat to serve as a member of the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority. That's leave to withdraw. T is that the mayor, letter appointing Jeff Rakowski for a 1-year term. That's leave to withdraw. V is the Human Resource Department provide a demographic of municipal government workforce be provided. That's leave to withdraw. I think that's all of them. So
got X?
X.
It's already done.
Yeah. I think that was already done.
Yeah. Former mayor.
It's the old one.
The old mayor, yeah.
Unless it's caught somewhere. And then X somewhere caught in this pile is the committee regarding the appointment of Marcos Marrero. That was leave to withdraw. So on all these, leave to withdraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. President?
Hold on, Councilor Tallman.
Okay, just real briefly, and I'll talk to Councilor Puello. On 21L, I'd like to file an order with him on that, about the marker on Cabot in South Summer. There was two of our veterans in Holyoke that actually lived in 2 buildings right next to each other on South Summer Street. And I'll get you the history. Mr. Bronson, rest in peace, passed away a couple years ago, but he really wanted me to work on that, so I'll get with you on that to try to get a marker, because it's unusual that you get 2 Medal of Honor winners that actually lived in 2 apartment buildings almost like right next door to each other.
That's
and they did have a plaque, I think, or a stone, I guess, originally at Morgan School at one time, but I think it was taken down. But I think it would be important to honor those veterans.
Councilor Maldonado Velez, was that you earlier or no? What, was it Juan?
It's from earlier, sorry.
Okay. All right, so no DGNR, charter and rules, joint committee, so we're on to motion, orders, resolutions. From Councilor Puello that the DPW install a no parking sign within appropriate required feet for Elm and Sargent. So
ordinance.
So ordinance. All those in favor?
Yeah, can I add words to this?
Sure.
Can we add adjacent to 140 Sergeant? She said no. Too late.
140?
Yeah, adjacent to 140 Sergeant. Thank you.
Adding 140 Sergeant. On that amendment, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 26 from Councilor Puello that the legal department give an opinion regarding the implementation of the city ordinance banning storage self-imposed plastic bag fees. This would be to legal, but ordinance as well, I do believe.
Receive, adopt, send to legal, and copy to ordinance.
All right, so receive, adopt, send to legal with a copy to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 27 from Councilor Puello that the Office of Plan and Economic Development be invited to discuss the reasons behind the absence of the medical marijuana providers in the city, the original intent, reason for cannabis legalization. Where do you want this one to go to?
What do we think, public service or finance? Since it's a tax credit?
I'd say tax, I'd go to finance.
Finance, cool.
All
Thank
those
you.
in favor? All
Aye.
opposed?
I'm not sure if I see that.
The goal of discussion to come up with the brides.
Since it's a tax benefit?
That wouldn't be a DGR?
DGR?
You wanna go-
Most
yeah.
of the cannabis stuff is in finance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's stabilization.
how about 2 finance with a copy to DGNR, just in case?
Yes, sir.
And copy OPED. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 28 from Councilor Puello that the city engineer draft a feasibility and association costs of raising the sidewalks adjacent to 401 Main Street. So receive.
Public safety?
And send to the engineer and public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 29 for Councilor Puello that the order that the request be made to the mayor's office to provide current list of businesses that receive ARPA funds through the city grant and each dollar amount awarded. Finance. So 2 finance with a copy to the mayor. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? From Councilor Jenny Rivera, order that the street number 380R Dwight Street change to 382 Dwight Street. Confusion between the buildings. This would be, is this ordinance?
I don't know.
Engineering.
So how about we send an ordinance with a copy to the engineer?
Yeah, Public Safety Committees also handles any sort of street changes or numerical changes is traditional.
You want to do public safety?
Public Safety
All right,
Committee.
so do public safety.
You got the DPW, man. That's it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Also from Councilor Rivera, order that to have the sidewalk repaired at 222 Lyman Street and 226 Lyman Street. Motion be receive, adopt, and send to the DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? From Councilor Bacon, create an ordinance that drivers operating altering vehicles causing repeated backfires, disturbing the peace be ticketed. So
Can I be added to this, Mr. President?
Ordinance.
Thank you.
Ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Miss-
Yep, Councilor Rivera.
Mr. President, if I may, about 33 and 34. Thank you, Councilor Jordan, for 33 and 34. I've already kind of filed these like a month ago almost. And
did you?
Yeah, and they're working on it as we speak.
Okay.
Mayor Garcia has talked to HG&E about the light and DPW, and I spoke to Amy about the fountain because I live right next to the park.
Right,
And according to Amy, it's the fact that it got bent, the inside piping also got bent, so they're working on how they could improve the inside of the piping and taking off the shower head and actually putting something there that actually looks aesthetically pleasing.
Right.
Just
right,
a shower
exactly.
head. But yeah. I mean, we could still have it.
Yeah, if it would be okay, I'd be honored to have you as a co-sponsor.
Yeah, you could add me to them and put them to public safety, and we could bring up the conversation.
Is that where yours are right now?
That's where they were.
Okay.
And I tabled them for about 60 days, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
To then refile and follow up on them.
So motion to suspend the rules, take up 33 and 34 from Councilor Jordan, adding Councilor Rivera, send to public safety. First, Councilor McGivern.
Just if he wishes, I think Councilor Bartley should be added to it. I know in the past the Ward 3 councilor has done a lot of encouragement about work on the Laurel Street Park and worked very closely with the powers to be.
So 33 is regarding Laurel Park and Laurel Street. The fountainhead was damaged. 34 is that the HG&E replaced the lighting at Laurel Park. So those are both to public service. All those
Safety.
Safety.
Yep.
Public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 35 from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Bacon, that Columbus Day holiday ordinance be changed so that the holiday be known as both Columbus Day and Indigenous People Day. This would go to
Ordinance. Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
If I make a comment,
Oh, hold on.
I just want to make a comment with regards to the order.
Councilor Rivera first.
I kind of feel like the holiday is already recognized as a holiday federally, and we'd be kind of like duplicating that whole service by adding that piece in. But I just wanted to voice my opinion with regards to that.
Hold on.
Yep.
There was
Okay.
someone else, I think it was
That's a good.
Councilor
actually
Anderson
good
Burgos.
Thank you for acknowledging, Mr. President. So, you know, as a city councilor, as an elected official, I find that it's important that when we file orders, it's to improve a community and to bring people together. And I feel that this order may, actually no, it will defeat the purpose of the ordinance that was just passed not too long ago. And it's just going to create more division. And I, you know, in my opinion, I mean, what I would like to see, or I'd like to make a motion to withdraw, because this is just going to open up, you know, wounds that are just starting to heal. And if we want to do good, you know, for this community, then we need to step up and shut stuff like this down. And no offense to the maker of the order, I'm trying not to offend you. Trust me when I say that. I'm just trying to protect a community that's very sensitive around this order, and it's just going to create more problems. And we already have our hands full with everything we're doing in the city. We have so much to do, and stuff like this just makes it impossible for us to get the important work done. Thank you.
Councilor Bacon
I
first.
just want to make a point of order. When I had filed an order at our last meeting or the meeting before, and I wanted to discuss it, I was told we should be discussing those in committee by you. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan. Sounds
Well-
like everyone listens to me, so it's all good.
Just saying.
I'm just going to add two facts to the conversation. One, there hasn't been an ordinance change. That's point one. Point two, somebody else filed an order on this topic, not me. I'm trying to bring it all together. That is sitting in ordinance, ergo this order would never need to even be filed if that order wasn't filed. So I'm assuming we're going to take them all together at some date in the future in ordinance, and we'll hash it all out and figure it out together. So that's why I would like this to go to ordinance, because the other one went to ordinance.
Right,
And
so
that's where we stand.
There was a motion to lead to a draw. I did not hear a second to that. Oh, so now there is a second to that. So motion is to give lead to a draw. Our discussion, Councilor McGivern.
On the motion to leave to withdraw, I will not vote in favor of that, whether I agree with an order that's filed or not. Every individual city councilor has a right to file orders to have a discussion on, and this is the two city councilors who have co-sponsored this. I may not vote for it, but they have a right to have a discussion on it.
Councilor Jordan?
Yes, I'm intrigued. I guess we were going to have people file orders. I'm against what the original proposal was, but I didn't sit here and say leave to withdraw. I said, okay, let's send it to ordinance and have the discussion. So I'm extending that courtesy. Apparently that is not reciprocal. If that's where we're going to go, then I guess we just keep filing these orders until, you know, common sense prevails. But I really think we should be having these discussions in committee to go through it. I wasn't planning on having a long-winded conversation tonight about the merits of Columbus Day or the demerits of Columbus Day or whatever. But, you know, I would just say that this is just another alternative, and we're going to figure it out in committee together. So I think that's how we should, on any of these issues. There's plenty of things that come through here that I don't ultimately support, but I'll defend your right to file an order as we consider different alternatives.
So like I've said, as Councilor Bacon has said, if it's going to be debated in committee, which it should be, because it's an order, then debate it there. Anyone further?
Mr. President.
Councilor Rivera first.
Thank you, Mr. I was going to say Mr. Gibbon. Mr. McGivern, for your insight, because honestly, I want to give, if you filed an order, I want to give you the respect to be able to have the conversation about it and explain as to why you filed it and elaborate it, because I would be upset if someone shut my proposal down right off the rip and not give me a chance to actually talk about it. But yeah, I guess thank you for that perspective and that insight. I had something else I was going to say, but I totally forgot, so it's okay.
Is there someone else? Councilor Maldonado Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess this goes back to my comment earlier, this little game. There was an order filed already around Indigenous Peoples Day. I believe this could have been an amendment to that order. Instead, we're just not bringing it up until this order was filed. Again, going back to the game, we could have already had this discussion in committee, maybe at the last ordinance meeting or something. But yeah, I agree. We can go through the debate. I'm definitely going to vote against it. It should just be Indigenous Peoples Day, but I guess we'll have that conversation during ordinance. Thank you.
All right, so the motion was to give leave to withdraw. It was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
So the noes would have it.
Motion to send to ordinance.
Motion is to go to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
37 from Councilor Jordan.
36, Mr. President.
36, yeah.
Sorry, I already flipped one, sorry. Up 36 from Councilor Jordan, that the Representative Duffy, Senator Vilas, be invited to the City Council to discuss specific legislative bills that will file on behalf to increase the local aid to various funding formulas.
Finance, please.
Is this finance or DG&I when you invite them? You want finance?
I kind of, because it's the money side of it, if there's no objection from the chair, but I was kind of envisioning finance, if that's okay.
I don't object. They did sort of talk about this when they came in to DGR, but I don't.
To finance, all those in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Councilor McGivern.
I also have no objection. Just pointing out that DGR has a standing order to bring our state delegation in once or twice a year, I think is the way it was worded originally.
Okay.
And I both John and Pat have been great about coming in, and I'm sure they would be happy to come in for a discussion, especially with the option of Zoom these days, but I think they both came in present to the last meeting.
No.
In person?
Zoom.
Was it Zoom? But either way, it'd be a good conversation.
All right, so that's Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, with the maker of the order, if you could I be added on to that?
Be honored.
Counselor, thank you.
Adding Counselor Tallman as a co-sponsor, please.
It's been added. 37 from Councilor Jordan, that the city council receive the traditional gold-plated councilor badge. I'd say make a motion to receive, adopt, and I'll follow up with the chief.
Yep, I'd like to receive, adopt, refer to the president and the administrative assistant to coordinate.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 38 from Councilor McGee, that the legal department review the alleyway near 5 Fairfield Ave to determine if the city property and the DPW also repair the fence in the alleyway that they broke. There was a photo attached to it. Actually, it's attached. So I'd say send that, receive and refer to public safety and a copy to legal, because the constituent wants to talk about this. It's kind of a mess over there.
Make a motion to send it to the Public Safety Committee with a copy to the Law Department.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Also for myself, that the council give a proclamation. Oh, we already did that one.
Yeah, that's
that one's
approved.
done.
Yeah.
That's approved. Thank you for that. 40 for myself, that order that the ordinance be amended to change the city council administrative assistant from 1 year to 2 years. That would go to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 41.
Motion receive, adopt, pass first reading.
Second.
Just receive, adopt, pass first reading. This is a request of $18,224.22 from Lieutenant Sergeant Patrolman 2 injured on duty. So receive, adopt, pass first reading. Councilman McGivern?
Again, no salary changes here, just for an accounting purpose. Some safety officials were injured on duty for a period of time during this pay period. We're just transferring the money out to recognize that.
All right, so all those, for passing first reading, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Coelho,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley, Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
12 yeas.
With your vote, you approve that one.
President, make a motion to suspend the rules to take 42, 43, 44, and 45 as a package. Refer to Committee on Finance.
Motion to suspend the
Second.
rules, take up 42, 43, 44, and 45 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? 42 is from patrolman to overtime. 43 is firefighters, 75,000 to overtime. 44 is the fiscal 21 emergency management grant for 20,150. 45 is the safe fire education, 6,275. Senior safe, 3,025. Total of $9,530 grant. All to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 46 is from Councilor Murphy Ramboletti, that the council accept the proposal for the sale of 144 High Street for $5,000. So that would be to DG&R.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A is the collective bargaining agreement for the City of Holyoke and Municipal Employees Union R1-180. So that would be to finance. That's a late file, by the way. Sorry.
Late file, finance.
Late file A to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
C is from Councilor McGivern, which is $22,768 from inventory control coordinator, head clerk, for then going to accounts payable specialist and office specialist. That's to finance.
Finance.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? I do believe that is it. There's no other late file.
I could, Mr. President, I don't have a copy of that last late file. Is that connected with the MOU contract we just received? Okay.
Yep.
Sure.
Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Mr.
There's nothing
President,
else.
Mr. President,
Oh,
1 minute.
Counselor?
Counselor Bartley wanted us to see if we could go back to reconsider the swimming pool. I don't know what number that is, if we could table it and let counselors ask whatever questions they wanted as far as whether we could send it somewhere else.
I'll second that.
All right, so let me go back to it.
It was item 5.
So item 5, which is laid on the table, motion is to reconsider our action on item 5. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Oh.
Motion would be to table it.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Well,
Say the ayes have it. So that
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
motion is to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We stand adjourned.
Have a good evening.
It's not going to come out of committee. It's not going to come out.